Calm down. Oh my goodness. It is hot. It is very, 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 very hot. I have not been around for a long time. This is the first stream I've done in a while. Hopefully everything's working. Let me know in the chat if the sound is coming through. I think it should be. Yep, I hear myself. I'm good. Okay. So, I've been gone for a while. Part of that is I got a call. I don't know if I talked about this on the last stream, but they said, hey, we want to do your kitchen. We got some time. You want to do your kitchen? And I'm like, yeah, let's do the kitchen. So it's been the last 3 weeks. Like, my kitchen's been hell. It's done now, so that's great. But now I got to try to put everything back in the kitchen because, what the heck? So take off all your clothes. YouTube censored that comment because I think it was the sexual harassment. We all know the reference there. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. Yeah. Anyhow, that's so I did this. Okay, I did this show, musical called Memphis, and it's for a city. The city is a producing partner, so they make you go through all the rigmarole of like when you're employed by the city, including making you sit and watch a sexual harassment training video. No, it's not what you're thinking. They don't teach you how to sexually harass. Actually, they do kind of teach you how to sexually harass, but they try to like tell you like here's what sexual harassment is, and here's what it isn't, and don't sexually harass people because we all get in trouble if you sexually harass somebody. So I'm coming out of the dressing room and I see this. The band of this show is on stage, so I get to watch them dancing and all that. So I see the dancing, the girl dancers, and I'm walking past one of the dancers, and I'm tired because we just finished the show, and I said, "Hey, hot stuff," and I meant like hot dancing, like you did a very good job dancing, but a part of me is like, dude, did I just sexually harass her? And I'm sure she didn't take it the wrong way because I didn't get a talking to from HR, but you never know these days. So the comment like "take off all your clothes," Zahari says greetings from Malaysia. Howdy from Malaysia. Thanks for the live streams. Yeah, I haven't done a live stream anyway in a while because I've been working on the kitchen at home. So we did Memphis back in June. Then I did another musical called Something Rotten, which I might have talked about last. We just closed that last weekend, and now we're on another musical, Ragtime. So I'm doing Ragtime, which I'm in kind of the interim right now between the two shows. We're still next week is going to be our dress rehearsal run opening night. So we're ramping up for Ragtime, and then after that I'm doing Kinky Boots. And but another thing that's happening is next week I am going to start officially my college class. So I'll be teaching a college class for the first time. And it's fun because when I was developing Filmmaker IQ, back we had this notion of trying to make it an online film school. It didn't really work because unless people have a reason to do homework, they won't do homework. That's kind of what I discovered. Like I can tell you to go out there and make something great, but unless your grade depends on it, you won't even go out there. That's what I've discovered. I don't mean to be rude to anybody here watching here. You might be the exception, but that was kind of the thing. I put all this effort into making all these courses and all these things to try to teach filmmaking, but we didn't have the carrot. We had the stick, but not the carrot. And so I really wanted to kind of just try my hand at actually getting in front of a classroom and teaching. And so I am. My boss, the chair of the department, gave me a lot of leeway. Basically, he said, you know what? You can do whatever you want. I trust you. You're Filmmaker IQ. I trust you to make whatever you're doing. This. Are you just discovering that? Yeah. Well, I talked myself into the thinking that people out there wanted to make, do work. Well, if you wanted to be a filmmaker, here's how you do it. So I talked myself into thinking that people would pursue these things. They don't. Yeah. Account for comments that I hated homework, and yes, without a need, priority go to other stuffs. Exactly. Have you seen Carter? And it's on Netflix. No, I have not. But let's go back and just finish up my story about the teaching. So I'm basically going to kind of follow the layout that they have, the project layout, because I want the students to do. There's going to be 3 projects. It's going to be an editing project, a interview project, and a mini documentary project. That's going to be the 3 main things we're going to be doing during the course. And I'm going to inject a bunch of my filmmaker IQ stuff in the lectures in between, and hopefully that will go well. We'll see. And I probably won't be on here talking about it much because I imagine my students might find me and then try to like, hey, let's see what Professor Hess is saying about us on the live stream. And then, I can't. That'll be an awkward conversation. So, but hopefully I can share some good things, and I probably will. I'm sure there's going to be good experiences. I'll learn as well, just as much as these kids will. Kids, I don't know how old they'll be, but they'll probably be kids. I can't wait to talk to them about frame rate. Oh my God. It is hot in here. That's probably another reason why I haven't been doing live streams. This is not an air-controlled space or air-conditioned space. It is very, very warm, and the lights are warming it up. Even though they are LED, they are bright, they put off energy, and it just, multiplies. I've tried to cool things down with an iceberg behind me. I don't think it's working. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the cool. I'm not feeling the Arctic wind on my back, so it sucks. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. So the topic that I put on the title, don't you love it when people do live streams, they never talk about the topic in the title? I know there's some video, I know Michael Malice did that one time. He's like, the topic in the video, he's like, took him about 50 minutes to get to the point. There you go. And then there are people who consume the homework like it's candy. I don't make anything, totally not me. But don't make anything. That's good. A cool beverage now and then is never a bad thing. This is nice. This is, unfortunately, this is just diet green tea. But, so topic at hand. The title I think I put on this thing, the Filmmaking Education Cycle. So I saw a Reddit post. I was on Reddit, and I do keep tabs on Reddit and see what people are saying on Reddit. And I saw some people saying that they were really tired of watching Pete McKinnon videos. Now, Pete McKinnon's also another person in the video education sphere. His numbers beating mine to the dust. I mean, I think he is way more popular than I am, which is fine. I'm not really. I've never really watched any of his stuff. I just know of him, right? But I noticed that people were kind of getting tired of his newer stuff. And then I occasionally get the comment on my post saying, hey, whatever happened to this channel? You used to do all these videos about the history of and all this stuff. And I thought, I'm getting kind of the same thing. People are saying, hey, you used to make all this educational stuff. I used to watch you back in the day, and now you're not making that stuff anymore. Well, I think it has to do with the fact that there is only so much of this information that's new, right? Like you can only learn basic screenplay formatting once. Like you can only learn what a pan versus a tilt versus a trucking shot. You can only learn dolly zoom once. There's a finite set of tools and work skills and concepts before you basically start repeating yourself. And I'm discovering this as I'm developing the course that I'm doing, because I'm kind of going back and dissecting a lot of my old material and seeing a way, like the very first lecture I'm going to give is basically like 3 videos of mine just dissected about the history of film and TV and video. But I realized there's only so much I can talk about until we start getting into more esoteric and smaller topics. And I'm at that point where now I can't really do a comprehensive history of frame rate video because I've already done that. I guess I could remake it. That's always a possibility, but to me, I hate doing that because the one I made is still doing well. All the old videos are still doing quite well, so I hate to remake them or redo them. It doesn't. And I was watching them. It's like, oh, that's still video quality wise, it still hold up. But anyhow, that's the point I'm trying to make is, I think a lot of people get this notion that, hey, I used to watch all this filmmaking, technology or filmmaking channels, and now I don't watch them anymore. Well, because you've gotten to the point where you've learned them. You've learned all there is to, not all there is to learn. You've learned the basics of it. And now, in order to maintain your interest, you really got to get into the weeds. You got to get into the minutia stuff. And to me, at least, I'm done with. I don't watch camera reviews. The last camera review I watched was on the Sony camera that I wanted to buy for making like how-to videos, like in-hand how-to videos and vlog style videos, because I wanted to see if that camera was decent. That's all I care about camera. I do not care about camera. I will not. If Philip Bloom comes out with a new camera review video, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about a new camera review video. Honestly, like zero. There's zero interest in it because the cameras, I'm already satisfied with what I have. And I also know I'm at the point where I'm not even coming close to tapping the potential of the cameras I have. In fact, I'm ready to move on to the next part, which is like making stuff. And that's why what fascinates me more is the artistry, the techniques and stuff like that. And that's why I got, again, on my ideas board over there is a lot more like tiny details. Anyhow, let's see what you guys are saying here. I think there's a lot to learn from You're watching Carter. They try to do every action scene in the movie, and then the camera transitions. Oh, you know what? So I watched House of Gucci the other night because I wanted to see it, and I finally saw it. It was available on HBO Max. I was going to pay for it. I mean, I'm already paying for HBO Max. Let me take a sip here. So I watched House of Gucci. It wasn't great because part of the problem with House of Gucci is it really wasn't it could never figure out what genre it belonged to. It was trying to be I'm just going to pull up something here. House of Gucci. It was trying to be kind of campy, like silly, trying to be high fashion chic. And it never really hung in there on anything, but I like Adam Driver so much and I like Lady Gaga so much that I stuck it out. It wasn't great. Now, a lot has been said about Jared Leto's performance. To me, like people said it took him out of the show. I don't know. It's not great, but I mean, maybe he told him this is supposed to be a campy, what you call it? I don't know. A campy retread, kind of a farcical movie, and that's what he went with. I think that's what he went with. But I gotta say, it has the absolute best transition I have ever seen. I laughed out loud so hard. If you guys have seen House of Gucci, let's see if I can actually get this to work right here. Let's see. Make sure my audio is set for this. I think it's set. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the audio is going to work. But let's see. Let's just try it and see what happens. Okay, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to go to my desktop here, fade to there, and I'm going to pull up this video. All right, let's see if we can actually, maybe you can hear it in the background. The greatest scene ever. Transition. I'm not sure you could hear that. I apologize. If you look it up, the best transition in the history of cinema. Basically, it's Jared Leto. He's like going up there, and he opens his mouth, and a car horn goes off. It's like it kind of comes out of nowhere. It's hilarious. It's an absolutely hilarious transition in a movie that's somewhat serious, somewhat campy, somewhat over the top. I can't really tell, but anyhow. Yeah. Sidetracked. I'm sorry, I'm going to get sidetracked a lot today because it is so effing hot. I mean, it's not that hot, it's just miserable. It's not like, oh, I'm going to die. It's just muggy and sticky and ugh. I'll go home and take a shower after this. And not for the normal reasons we go take a shower because these streams get kind of, ooh. Let's see, where are we? Where's my live video? I closed my window by accident. Let's see. I'm still live, right? Yeah, I'm still live. There we are. All right, cool. I need a cooling unit. Yeah, the problem is this space is too big. Like a single unit's not gonna fill the space. Like even a swamp cooler will probably make it worse. No, there is no cooling unit in here at all. The thing about it is 10 months of the year, it's perfectly nice in here. 10 months out of the year, it's just August and September, like the first half of September, maybe a month or so, where you just don't want to be here. I mean, I could shoot a video here. I could sweat it out. I've done it before. Like I did the first fake blood video in this heat, so I had to get ready for October. The shot in September, but covered in blood in this heat. Oh, that's awful. I always like, yeah, cuenta para decir idiotonces. You can make a video about how to get that cinematic look for cheap. I'm still on the desktop view. Let's go back to here. There we go. That's on my list of videos to make. Although my take on what is cinematic is a little different than what most people's is opinions on what is cinematic. I don't like my take. So just to give you guys a sort of an idea what my take on cinematic means is, I asked the question, what do you mean by cinematic? Because we have to dissect what you mean by cinematic in order to become cinematic. Do you mean cinematic as in Charlie Chaplin? Do you mean cinematic as in Lawrence of Arabia? Do you mean cinematic as in the French New Wave? Do you mean cinematic as in Spielberg's 1980s blockbuster movies? Do you mean cinematic as in terms of Kubrick or of what's his name? Well, Orson Welles. Or do you mean David Fincher cinematic? What do you mean when you say cinematic? And then we can dial that down further. AKA shoot on film? Not necessarily. Like, I'm not necessarily a diehard shoot on film. There's plenty of digital stuff I love. And myself personally, I've never shot motion film in my life. I mean, I wouldn't mind. It's just the cost is, to me, unjustifiable when I have such great digital gear that in order to match that quality in film stock, I would have to spend quite a bit of money. And then I'd have to do it multiple different times. How to look like Lawrence of Arabia for cheap. You know what's funny is you can probably do it cheaper these days, you know. You could get close, but you won't have all the extras. Jay Ketter Eddie says, I have a question. What do you think about going to film school? I was going to be an older student, but I love filmmaking. I don't know how else to break into the industry. My opinion on film school. I'm going to be teaching introduction to video production at a community college. I don't think the community college is that expensive. I don't know how much it costs. I'm not getting paid that much, so obviously it can't be that much money they're making. But community college might be an option to kind of get your feet wet. The thing with film school is it is sort of a big giant money scheme. Like, fact of the matter is if you can find your way to get into your foot in the door inside these production places, that's how you get into filmmaking. You have to go be where the action is and then try to get your foot in the door by doing whatever it takes to get on the set. Now, you can go to film school, you can go to USC, and then have, be maybe one of the top people that these people, on your resume and people look at. That's one way of doing it. Of course, it's going to cost you 6 figures maybe in college debt, which you probably won't ever be able to make off because, honestly, when you get out of film school, you're going to be making maybe minimum wage, $125, $200 a day if you're lucky, being as a PA. That's a possibility. So I hesitate to recommend film school in that kind of a structured environment. If you can go to film school in a cheaper way of doing it, maybe it may be better. Also, you have to ask yourself, do you really want to make films or do you want to produce content? What do you need? Like, I've kind of grown a little bit out of the idea that I want to make Hollywood films. because I look at Hollywood films like, I don't want to be held to those bosses, basically. People complain about, but then again, it'd be great to have that kind of, be able to wield that kind of power that a studio has. But then again, to be basically the pawn of whoever is in charge at that time, that also sucks too. So, or do you want to make YouTube content? Do you want to make sketches? Do you want to make news? Do you want to make commentary? Do you want to make art videos? There's so much more besides Hollywood, I think, and there's so much more you can do, even scratching the filmmaking itch, that you don't necessarily need to be, Hollywood. And you might find, I might find that if I were to be in a production studio, I probably think it'd be awesome to do a Hollywood feature, but might also feel claustrophobic in that you're probably not going to get as much done as you want. So, the money is certainly in charge in a Hollywood studio, absolutely, and it always has been in some sense. Cinematic comic books. Yep. College of Southern Nevada is the best in the state of Nevada. Inexpensive too. Good. Okay, there you go. Check it out. College of Southern Nevada. And if you're in Riverside County, California, check out Mount San Jacinto College. Although my class is full now, so if you do sign up, you will be on the wait list. But I'm told that there are people that drop out in the first couple weeks, so get on the wait list. You might get bumped up to the other one. If you are an introvert who hated networking, don't go to film school. It functions more as a network. I totally agree. And when I was 19, 20, when I graduated, I was a huge introvert. Like I was I'm still kind of introverted, in that I don't make small talk easily. Like if you meet me, like I have a hard time just making small talk. Although if we start talking about movies, then we'll just keep going. And it didn't take me until like after college. And honestly, this is going to be weird to say, social media got me out of my shell. And it was MySpace that got me out of my shell. It really was. Sean says, I'm going back in time with comments, film school is important for a networking aspect. Learning the language of film is important too, and that you can get from a few film schools. That you get at a few film schools. Yeah, it's kind of, film school helps definitely in terms of networking, because that's where you meet all your fellow filmmakers and you all work on each other's projects. You develop lifelong friendships, and then maybe your friend's going off to make a commercial for Nike. Okay, and then he calls you up, say, hey, you want a gaff for me, and so forth and so on. That's how film school works. It gets you inside that clique of people. That's the great thing about film school. But do you need to spend $90,000 for that? Hard to justify that. Now, the other aspect is the stuff that you learn in film school. Sure, sure you can pick it up on the internet. You absolutely can. In fact, you can pick up a lot of it through my videos, because a lot of my film schools use my videos for their stuff. But it's nice to have a structured approach to it. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, for $90,000 or $100,000, Sean says, just a topic I want to hear about because the semester is about to start. Yeah, for me, it starts next week. So I already got my first lecture PowerPoint written out. I got the entire course as far as what I want to do on each day figured out. And it's got to go through, like, as we go through and get through it. I want to read this. DOP Shooter says, been a cinematography teacher in a film school for the last 5 years and realized most students, whether they have signed up for editing, directing, cinematography, or any other course, they actually want to become an actor. Interesting. I didn't think that would happen. Usually the actors are the extroverts. They go to theater or something like that. Fascinating. That's good. Diet tea. Any specific learning resources you recommend outside of film school apart from your channel? For example, I love the book How to Shoot Video That Doesn't Suck. Interesting. I'm a big fan of, honestly, School of Hard Knocks. Like, you gotta make a film. Just make a film. Make a short film. Don't go crazy. Don't make an Avengers ripoff. Make like a short film in the style of Clerks or something like that. Although it seems so weird to think that I feel like nowadays people making films starting out no longer want to make things like Clerks or like, or any of the Duplass brothers films, because I love the Duplass brothers films. They're very simple. They're shot, in people's houses, and they're just dramas or drama comedies. They don't require, all these. It's like every student filmmaker wants to make either like some sort of like insane special effects feature because I think the internet kind of teaches people that the only way you get noticed is to make something incredibly VFX heavy and cool looking, and I guess to some extent it's true, but I kind of miss the making, just talking dramas and cinematic arts more. So I don't know. Interests are free. Hobbies is a way to express consumerism. Yeah, I know. I've spoken up about consumerism. Believe me, I'm a huge capitalist, but I'm an anti-consumerist. It's a weird thing to have both of those in my head. Any less known book recommends not Save the Cat. I recommend, if you don't, this is a well-known book, but you should check out the visual language of Bruce Bloch's Visual Language. It's like seven something of visual language. That's like mind-altering. For me, it was very, very crucial approach to studying movies. Is that book? Again, it's by Bruce Bloch, and look up Bruce Bloch cinematic language or something like that. And he talks about the different tones and textures and stuff like that. But I definitely would recommend that one. It's pretty well known, but it's not Save the Cat. It almost sounds like the reason to go to film school is to network with the kind of people who can afford to go to film school. Good point. I have a convocation next week, a lot of meetings. I got an email from my dean, I guess, saying, hey, the convocation's on Thursday, I think today. Like, I didn't know what a convocation was. I had to look it up. So that's one thing. I'm not used to having bosses. In fact, I generally don't like having bosses. That's my personality is not, I just don't, I don't like having bosses, period. I just don't. It's just the thing. I like my boss, though, at the college. I think he's cool. But I'm not used to I'm not used to being told what to do, basically. So, like getting these emails from all these district heads and all of that, it's like, and I just feel like it feels to me very Office Space, just very, very often. Like, what is exactly that you do here, kind of a thing. Ooh. There you go. Account for comment says. I'll go. Good night, Petch, if you're still watching. The director of photography I worked for left med school and learned his craft online. Also networked with family money helping him do it. You know who else went to med school? George Miller. He was a doctor, right? When he made Mad Max. So, and look, the film. There was something called the Film School Generation, and that was Spielberg, George Lucas, and a couple other folks in that time period. What's his name? I think it was Coppola part of that. I'm not sure Coppola. Martin Scorsese. There's a lot of these, the film school generation that kind of like came up together, right? Milius, Dave Milius. But they were all kind of in the film school, George Lucas, yeah, all on the kind of the film school circle, although Spielberg went to Long Beach State, I believe, right? He didn't actually go to like USC. So we're kind of conditioned now in our time to think you need film school to network, but everyone before didn't go to film school. Like, what film school did Orson Welles go to? What film school did Stanley Kubrick go to? What film school did John Ford go to? No, they didn't have film school. So, yeah, Sound Location Bible is a good one. Yeah, I think I might have that one. I don't know. I think I bought it, but I never read it. I recommend, if you want to check out a book by Jay Holben, who's a friend of mine, back from the MySpace days. He does a lot with the ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers. He has like 3 or 4 books out. I would check them out. They're good primers for starting out. They're really good primers. Jay Holben, Jayholben. J. Holben. Check him out. He just came out with a new book on lenses, which will probably I think I don't know. Did I buy it? No, I haven't bought it yet. Did I buy it? I can't remember. I gotta buy it. But it is so like immaculately researched and detailed that like I don't think I mean I could probably make videos based on it for years to come. But it's amazingly deep. It's amazingly deep. So check that one out. In the Do You See What I See? The most that matters is what you are watching, not what you see. I don't know what that means, but yeah, let's see. Rigel says, it took a 2-year community college program, been booked since grad. Oh, good for you, Rigel. See, there you go. That's the kind of student that I'm going to be inspiring. I think the difference between me and the other and my chairhead did tell me that I can make this class what I want. But I was looking at his online class, and my approach to it's going to be much more theoretical and history based, or at least in the beginning. I want to push that harder. I don't expect the students necessarily to appreciate or understand all of it. And I'm not expecting them to kind of grasp. I'm not expecting them to grasp like color subsampling right away. I want to expose them to it though. I want to expose all the stuff early on, and I'm going to let them loose and go out and shoot stuff. And they have a bunch of Blackmagic pocket cameras that they can rent out, and they can use their own cameras. I'm not going to force them to use our cameras, so they can rent out the Blackmagic. I got to check and see what kind of lighting kits they have, but it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. But again. It's college, you can make, the student will get out of it what they make out of it. Kind of. Film art is a textbook of my favorite. I have them all except how to use the camera for the minutia. Oh yeah, guys, are John Milius. Thank you. Going back. Yep, Roger Corman's camp. Roger Corman necessarily the film school folks. But Roger Corman's a very good example of learning on the job, isn't he? All those guys that came out of his production. Hey, you know who else went to med school? Graham Chapman. Oh yeah, it's true. He made Yellowbeard. Oh, I thought Graham Chapman is he's not the Monty Python guy, is he? Oh man, never mind. New Hollywood, when studio systems break down by TV, so they picked up kids from film school and save American cinema. Yeah. Which college are you teaching at? Mount San Jacinto High School, Menifee, and I'm teaching Video Production 1, which is basically intro to video production. So my stuff is a little more geared toward video production and not necessarily filmmaking. Like I won't be teaching like screenplay format. I won't be teaching necessarily how to like edit or direct or block a scene. Although I want to use that video in my class because I think it's interesting. But I mean the bent of the class is really more toward being a working professional in the video industry. But I will inject a lot of filmmaking stuff in it because personally, I mean, I approach my corporate work from a filmmaking perspective, anyways. Like like for one, I shoot 24 frames a second for corporate work. I don't shoot 30. I know a lot of people do shoot 30 because they think, well, it's corporate work, so it needs to be 30 frames a second. But that's not the way I think. I think it should look cinematic. Rick H, no notifications. It's probably because I've been off YouTube for like a month, and YouTube's like, he gave up. That's why they didn't give you a notification. Oh, ring that bell. See if that changes anything. I don't know if you probably did have a rung. What do you think about 9x16 vertical framing? I've shot some big ads for Insta and high-end cameras, and it hurts both technically and emotionally. What's the future of this kind of aspect? So I've had this talk before. I'm not against 9x16 at all. And I know it's a pain in the butt. The problem is because all your equipment is dialed in for 16:9 or it's horizontal formats. That's the problem. That's why it hurts. Because it's supposed to hurt. But the thing is, you need to be watching it on a 16 or a 9x16 screen. So I'm, maybe I don't know how you have a preview monitor set up, but maybe you need to take a preview monitor and turn it on its side, just to watch it in the proper aspect ratio. Because to me, like, if you watch a 9:16 video on your phone, it makes the most sense. Like, oh, this is what it's designed for. It's not designed for watching on a widescreen TV. It's not designed for watching on a movie theater. No way. Like, people, they're like, I don't know about your parents, and my dad wasn't like this, but I've heard stories. But if you got a TV and then you watched a movie and it had black bars on the top and bottom back in the old days with the 4x3 TVs, back in the old days, and your mom or uncle's like, dang it, and I paid for a 32-inch set. You better fill that screen with image. I don't want to see these black bars. It's horrible, right? Because people want to fill their image. They want to fill the frame of their device. So if you're holding a phone vertically, you want to fill the frame vertically. That's where 9:16 makes sense. Now, the problem is thinking that everything is applicable to everything else. So we think that, vertical film, I'm going to go to the movie theater and I'm going to get vertical film. Well, I mean, you do a little bit in like a Justice League in the very beginning of the movie with Henry Cavill's bizarre, mustache-less face. But there are certain things for certain things. Like, that's the way I think about, 9:16 is great for phone, great for internet, great for the social media stuff. It's not good for cinema, not good for, stuff that's going to go on, streaming or broadcast or any of that stuff. Just like 24 frames a second is great for certain kinds of cinematic movies. That high frame rate is great for other things like video games and sports and things that look like sports that maybe don't involve clothes. Never mind. But yeah, the blocking video is that's really something. We're talking about thinking about making another, like a sequel to that. But I will include that in near the end of my semester. Like, that's before I start them on the documentary, just to like say, hey, look, here's all the things you can do. How much of the film look actually comes from shooting anamorphic? There's a little bit. Like, so here's the thing. When people say film look, what do you mean film look? And like I said earlier, do you mean film look as in Charlie Chaplin? Do you mean film look as in anamorphic J.J. Abrams style with lens flares and all that gnarly jazz? Or do you mean something that's more in line of like The Lighthouse, which is not shot anamorphic? Would you say that The Lighthouse doesn't look cinematic because it's not shot anamorphic? So it depends what you're talking about, right? And now the film look, and people will argue with me all the time, and I get this. I've been getting this a couple things yesterday. Well, I say 24 frames a second is inherent in the film look because all these examples I've given, every single one of them is 24 frames a second. So there's that one common thread of all of those things is 24 frames a second. They say, well, John, 24 frames a second is not enough to get a cinematic look. And I say, absolutely right. You're right. 24 frames a second is not a guarantee that you'll make a film look. Guarantee. I totally agree with that. But if you don't do it, you're not then you're half wrong. So, how much is it anamorphic? I wouldn't say it much at all. I mean, there's a certain, if you want a blockbuster kind of epic feel, then anamorphic does have a little bit of, shooting anamorphic does kind of get you a little bit there. But I've seen plenty of great movies that aren't shot anamorphic. And then there are some TV shows I watch that bounce back between anamorphic and spherical. So, like The Expanse, I think, kept bouncing back and forth. That's good. Plot Bot says, lesson number 1. Cage goes in Adobe Premiere. You're in Adobe Premiere. Sharks in Adobe Premiere. Absolutely. Oh, sorry, Rick. I didn't say your super chat. Thank you. Glad I'm black. We got him back. All right. What's in your camera lens? Upper right side of the picture. Maybe that little black thing? That is, I'm shooting through a teleprompter, and that's like the cloth of the teleprompter that kind of hides it, and I didn't pull it taut. I didn't slide the lens all the way through. That's what it is. Sorry about that. Just assume it's extreme vignetting. Have I seen the errors of my ways and embraced 32-bit float? Nope. I have recorded concerts. I've a few concerts actually. I think 2 or 3 concerts, and never once did I even come close to peaking. And I saved myself basically $300 from buying a new audio recorder. 'Cause I don't need it. Because I literally have everything I need in the 24-bit float. 24-bit. Just curious, have you watched any films that were shot on a smartphone? I haven't seen Tangerine. I saw a couple ads that were shot on a smartphone. I saw that ad that was shot by the guy that shot La La Land for the iPhone. It's all right. So, look, I don't understand the obsession over about shooting stuff on phones. To me, it's just not a good tool not because of the quality of the image. I'll tell you the story. I was blown away by the quality of my Samsung S whatever 21. So I'm playing this show called Ragtime, which has a book. It came out in 1995, and since then the musical has been butchered left and right. Like to be honest, I saw the musical like in 2008 or something like that, or 2006 or something like that, relatively early. I was not impressed by it because I thought it was overly long and kind of boring. Although I loved the album. I obsessed over the album. Long story. I'm making this long story even longer. So since then, the book has been like cut up and mutilized to try to get it shorter and more concise and more condensed, right? But the problem is nothing has been official. So there's all these massive amount of cuts. It's annoying as hell. So I took my book and was like, I'm going to take some of these pages out. I'm going to mark them up. I'm just going to make a copy of it. So I sat there with my copy machine trying to do it, and it was just driving me nuts, and it wasn't looking good. Then I got my phone out, and I downloaded a thing called Adobe Scan, and you just take a picture of the pages, and then it scans them. And then I printed them out, and to be honestly, they look just as good as a regular scan. It's amazing. And this is two pages of 2 pages of music. I'm scanning with one picture from a camera. So, long story short, all the way back to the beginning, cameras are incredibly capable devices for shooting video. The problem is they're ergonomically shit. I'm not going to mince words. They are the worst effing thing to operate. Right? Like it's just painful. Like I would rather shoot with any other camera than a phone because the phone is the absolute, like I want to change the ISO. I want to change the aperture. I want to focus. Like I want to put it on a tripod. You got to put you got to add so much crap to it to make it even barely functional. And I get it. Yeah, I'm not a kid that's grown up on doing this stuff on the phone. I just hate it. I absolutely hate shooting video on a phone. I just hate it. But, you go ahead and do it. But there's nothing special about shooting video on a phone, except for the fact that the sensor is really, really tiny. That's the only difference. So, well, I'm triggered to Rick H. Fincher shoots mostly spherical. There you go, maybe. Again, spherical versus anamorphic, I think it's a matter of taste. I've never shot anything fully on anamorphic. I'd like to, but it's just not in my budget and wheelhouse. I got so much good spherical glass. I haven't watched any Hollywood films since 2015, but I've found many too formulaic. Like RLM said, one review, the movies feel like a series of storyboards. Do you think this artistic expression will ever come back like in Korean cinema? I don't idolize Korean cinema. Sorry. I mean, like big budget films like the 70s and 90s. And I agree completely with the ergonomics of the phone. Yeah, there you go. I think, well, the problem, so I'm going to hit on something right here. I haven't watched many Hollywood films since 2015 because So if you haven't watched many, then you don't know which ones are good. That's the problem, right? Like, I hear this a lot. Oh, Hollywood doesn't put out good films anymore. And the truth of the matter is Hollywood has never put out good films. The vast majority, 80 to 90% of Hollywood fare is going to be formulaic. Like, in every single era. Like, okay, you can say 1998 had some great movies. Sometimes you have years where, yeah, you have a clumping up of certain, like, a good number of movies. But there's still only a handful out of all the crap that gets released. We just forget all the crap, right? We don't think about all the crap that's out there. Now the question is, do you think that artistic expression will ever come back? I think it's very much alive right now in the streaming world. I think there's a lot of streaming, a lot of people taking more chances artistically in streaming. I recommend, again, For All Mankind. People recommended that show to me. It's on Apple Plus. I really enjoy that show, and to me, right now, it's become more of a soap opera in the vein of like Dallas or something like that. A high-end, high-budget soap opera, but it involves space travel. So, but it's all about drama, and it's good stuff. Like, I think there's a lot of artistic expression in there. Look, don't go looking at comic book movies for artistic expression, and then don't complain about the artistic state of Hollywood based on the comic book movie industry. Now, sure, comic book movies, they might be the most talked about thing on this platform because this platform is dominated by young men aged 18 to 45 or 18 to 40, which I have almost left that the demographic. But that's the reality of this platform, that we all talk about Marvel and DC and all that stuff, which, it's got its place. I'm not against those movies, but you gotta look beyond. You gotta look beyond. Like, a good example is I still find one of my most favorite experiences in the movie theater, and I've watched this movie 3 times now, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It had a little bit of that kind of comic book flair to it, multiverse kind of silliness that's kind of popular now. I think that multiverse stuff will start to kind of wane after a little bit, but there's stuff out there. You just got to go and find it. And Hollywood always reach for that formulaic, simple fare. But then again, you got something like Maverick that came out that I think most critics and audiences agreed that was a blast. So, anyhow. Optics on a Tara Fitzgerald says, optics on a camera though, ish. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're dealing with a sensor that's the size, not even the size of a pinky nail, like half of a pinky nail. That's how small these sensors are that are on there. Of course, you're going to have a focal length, which is a focal length on a phone is like maybe a 6 or 7 millimeter lens on a phone. Like, these are really, really tiny optics. So there's going to be a lot of room for error. That's why, the technology, that's why you have to have all this AI that kind of goes back and fixes all the images. Now, phones can still do a great job, and if you're out in the wilderness and you're on a hike and you run across a beautiful sunset, maybe that's not a great example, but if a beautiful waterfall, it's well lit and everything, you take your phone out and take a picture, it looks pretty good. But it's not going to look as good as, a full-on mirrorless or DSLR camera or whatever, designed for it. Yeah. Anyhow, not naive enough to say Hollywood peaked in 1939, but Hollywood peaked in 1939. Well, except for all the years since then, where they've made some truly are fantastic films. I always like to quote this statistic that back in the golden age of Hollywood, 75% of all movies produced by the Hollywood major studios, 75% were considered B movies, and by a B movie, I mean movies that were intended to be played in a double billing along with an actual proper A-list movie. So they were literally Sharknado. 75% of all movies produced, of all of them, by the major studios were just like crappy, stuff. Although, to think about it, like, as much as you hate to watch that stuff, what great practice for actors and for cinematographers, for editors, all that, to constantly have a job to work on movies. These cinematographers would they'd wrap one movie on Friday and then would go start shooting the next movie on Monday. It was just a job. It was constantly churning them out. They got so good at the craft. I mean, I know as a trumpet player, if you're playing every night, you get better and better. If you're shooting a movie every single week, damn, you're going to get good really fast. So, yeah, I've been watching The Umbrella Academy lately, and I really love it. But what purpose does the dance scene have in the storytelling? They seem to be fitting out of place. What gives? I don't know. Never watched Umbrella Academy. But you know what they say, right? When emotion becomes too strong for words, you sing. And when emotion becomes too strong for singing, you dance. I try to get my students away from superhero movies. I'm not against superhero movies, but yeah, let's move on beyond. We need to watch other movies too, I am going to be fully prepared for the culture shock when I mention like a movie and the students will not be able to understand my reference. Like maybe I'll talk about like, hey, that shot from try and pick one. Let's go, The Matrix. They're like, what? What are you talking about? Dude, enough boomer. Enough of your boomer movies. Like, dude, The Matrix. Come on. Give it to me. The Matrix. Not to realize that movie is like 25 years old now. 24 years old now. Sad. It's kind of hard to maintain individual artistic expression in something that costs over $10 million. Exactly. Involving hundreds of people, similar movies usually have it better. Smaller movies, exactly. You got the nail on the head. And not just $10 million. When they cost over $50 million, when they cost $250 million, there's no artistic expression. Unless you're Elon Musk making your own movie with your own money. I mean, Elon Musk can have his own artistic expression at that point. But, if it's someone else's $250 million, you're kind of on everybody else's dime. You got to, you can't really make your movie about your own struggle with life. I guess a movie like that is Synecdoche, New York, where the guy just basically falls into a trap. I didn't like that movie when it came out. I haven't watched it since. But I think the storyline kind of is like a man becomes obsessed with his own artistic vision that it basically gets all-encompassing to the point of paralysis. I just find that incredibly hard and painful to watch. Anyhow, Mark Duplass Films and many others have great artistic expression, but they have not big budget stuff. They're usually $1 or $2 million. Some of the older ones are like way less than that. Like tiny budgets. I mean, well, a lot of stuff he was doing like as amateurs. They weren't getting paid. They were just getting together making a film, kind of thing. And I love that. I want to do that again. Now that COVID's kind of going away, we can get back into that. I love Everything Everywhere at Once. What do you think about A24 movies in general? I love A24 because I love that they exist and that they're giving people a chance and an alternative. I love that about it. And I'm great. I hope they make a lot of money. I hope they make a lot of money and become like Disney. Oh, I don't think I talked about this. A friend of mine started me getting on this show called Mythic Quest. It's on Apple Plus, another streaming. Now, here's a show that it's interesting in that it's sort of like a take on The Office. A little bit, it's an office workplace comedy, created by Rob McElroy. I can never say his name. McElhaney. I think his name McElhaney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Charlie Day, who also executive produces it. And it's a regular, it's enjoyable. It's a cute everyday office place comedy. But then halfway through the series, they do an amazing short film. It's an amazing. They step away from the main storyline, the main characters, and they do the short film. And I thought it was one of the most well crafted little bits of short film I've seen. Just warm, sweet, bittersweet, tender, funny. Very, very well done. I think, and I'm not sure, but I think Craig Mazin wrote that. I'm not sure if he wrote. He is in the series. Craig Mazin, who does the Script Notes podcast with John August, and he also did Chernobyl. So far so good. I get through the first season. I watch the second season. I'm like, oh, well, that was great. I really appreciate what they do with the story. Second season, same thing happens. Halfway through the season, they take a long sidebar and go back to one of the characters' backstory. F. Murray Abraham's backstory. Oh my God. Even better. Like, beautiful, sweet, short film about his youth. Holy moly. So good. And I'm looking at, man, Rob McAlloy, whatever your name is, how you pronounce it, McElhaney. God, I love this guy. Like him, Bill Hader. Like, if I could meet these, not if I could meet these, I could like, hey, let's hang out. And you guys are doing what I want to do. Best be brutally, bluntly honest. That's the stuff I want to do. I want to do like Bill Hader's like with Barry. I want to do stuff like Mac does with Mythic Quest. And also Sunny. Sunny is one of my favorite shows. I haven't watched it in a long time because I don't know how to stream it. I think it's on Hulu, which I don't have. But yeah, those guys, totally. Mythic Quest. Again, if you want to watch something, yeah, it starts off kind of a jokey comedy, which is cute and it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like, to me, it's more of a B+ effort. But when you get to those little 1 or 2 episodes where they take a step outside the thing, you're like, whoa, this is really good. This is what drama comedy is supposed to. This is just so well done. So well done. And beautifully shot too. Oh, anyhow. Just getting teary-eyed thinking about it. Here you go. I made your point whenever someone said old films are better. However, there are standby blockbusters like Lord of the Rings due to the desire of the express. Now I watch a new one. I could not see it. Let me read that again. I made your point whenever someone said old films are better. However, there are standout blockbusters like Lord of the Rings due to the desire to express. Now I watch a new one. I could not see it. Well, something, again, how many times do those amazing hits come at you? Right? You say Lord of the Rings. Okay. I'm not a big fan of Lord of the Rings, so it doesn't affect me that much. But I get it. I could see why you would like it. But how many other movies are like that? How many times does that happen in the history of film? Once every 10 years? Once every 5 years, maybe? I don't know. You might say Lord of the Rings is so special, true, but was there something that as good before? I think Lord of the Rings did set the bar for like fantasy movies as far as nothing was as good before. So you have 90 years of history where they didn't make it as good. So I would say, I think it's one of those things where you're stuck inside the statistics. If you're stuck inside you don't see you can't see the forest for the trees. Essentially, there's a huge forest. They all look like product made by people trying to do a job. Yeah, go back and watch some of those movies from the 50s. That's exactly what they look like too. Rick H says, I love those guilty pleasure movies like Sharknado. Jay Horton is the prince of those kind of movies. I don't know who Jay Horton is. I can't get into those movies, honestly, but hey, why not? I mean, Sharknado, the great thing about Sharknado is they didn't even have a story for it. They made a poster. It said Sharknado and had it's what you kind of see right now, with the shark and the tornado. And they went to the American film. It wasn't film market. So remember, film markets are different than film festivals. Film festivals where you show movies. Film markets are where you sell movies to potential buyers. They just went there with a poster and said, "This is the movie we're going to make. How much money are you going to give me?" And they sold it because people were like, "Sharknado, huh? I'll give you $1 million." They sold it based on the poster alone. That's what's amazing about it. Raimi's Spider-Man, Jackson's Lord of the Ring, the first 4 Harry Potter movies. Yeah, I mean, I could kind of give and take the Spider-Man. I would prefer, like, to me, Nolan's Batman are probably more. I think about the Batmans more than I think about the Spider-Mans, so that puts a little different cloud on it. Like, I think the latest Batman was pretty good. I wasn't, it may not like impress me that much, but I think the later Batman was pretty. I'm one of the few weird ducks that likes the Watchmen. So what's his face? That guy, the guy that made 300 and Watchmen. I like some of his earlier stuff. So I don't know. And the Harry Potter movies, yeah, I kind of lost interest after the first three or four. Three, I think I only saw three. But again, I think the Maverick movie came out this year was really good. If we're going to go back to last year, well, if you go back from like 1917, I thought was really excellent. That came a couple years ago. That was pre-pandemic, right? I mean, pandemic you can't really count because those movies. Oh, so I was watching. I'm going to vent about this. I was trying to figure out what to watch because late at night and I didn't want to start a movie. I turned on. Oh, CNN had this. They had this. Their HBO was this documentary about the last Hollywood stars. It's put on by CNN. It was a CNN co-produced with another thing, and they hired what's his face from Gattaca. Can't remember his name. Ethan Hawke to direct this movie about Newman. Not Ryan Newman. Not Randy Newman. The Newman dude. The guy from the guy on the salad dressing. My brain it's the heat. Anyhow, I shut it off after 5 minutes because it's like the first 5 minutes of the movie were Ethan Hawke getting on Zoom with all his celebrity friends and talking about how they were all in quarantine and talking about how they were all in their houses and their looked like amazing, beautiful houses. I've been stuck here forever. And I thought to myself, my God, you can't even make a movie about, what's his name, the Newman guy? Paul Newman and his wife. Because they were a power couple. They acted together in a lot of movies. You start a documentary about Paul Newman and his wife, and you made it about yourself. The very first 5 minutes was all about them. It was like, oh, here, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, I mean, this time in the quarantine, and we're on Zoom together. This movie's about Paul Newman. Why are you making it about yourself? You can't stop freaking congratulating yourself for 1 second to honor Paul Newman and his wife, who's not with us anymore. No, you have to make it about yourself. And you have to make it about being in quarantine and then doing your video through Zoom. And you released it. I don't know when they released it. I think they released it last year when it was a little more appropriate for. But no, you had to make it about yourself and Zoom. I was like, I was so disgusted by it. Okay, there are ways. No, I'm not going to take it back. There are plenty of movies about Hollywood where it's you get famous people to sit there and talk about. I mean, sure, you could do it on Zoom, but have them start talking about Paul Newman or talking about how they were affected by Paul Newman or how they were inspired by Paul Newman. But no, they were talking about their goddamn selves. It was such a horrible, horrible, horrible movie or horrible way to introduce the documentary. I literally turned it off right then and there. I was like, you guys are so full of yourselves. So full of yourselves. And I'm sitting here in 2022. I don't want to watch another thing about Zoom. We peons out there that have been working during the pandemic, we don't want to watch about how you rich assholes are sitting on Zoom. Look at that, Anita brings the spaghetti brings the freshly made pasta every week. It's the best we can do to survive. But I guess we've stopped using the fresh stuff and having to use the dried spaghetti noodles. We're having to use not spaghetti because spaghetti is too low class. We got to use the dried rigatoni. And apparently we have to go with canned tomato sauce, but you know, at least it's flown from Italy. Although the pandemic has stricken Italy pretty hard, but it's flown from, you know, south of France. It's not as good as the Italian stuff, but it will have to do because we're all in this together. We are all in this together. God, I hate these freaking guys, these Hollywood elitist bullshit. Did I just reveal my politics through there? That's why that's like part of me is like why I don't want to be involved with the Hollywood crowd. It's like you guys are so full of shit. Like, tell me about Paul Newman, or start the documentary off with some footage of Paul Newman. No, you start with the Zoom calls because it's all about us. Look at us. It's like Ethan Hawke literally on this Zoom call saying, "Well, you know, the family called me up and asked me if I would direct this film about Paul Newman." No, start with Paul Newman. It's not about you. God. I'm sorry. You guys are making me so upset. You take a perfectly feasible concept. Okay, get your Hollywood elite buddies to wax poetically about Paul Newman. No, we're going to talk about ourselves. We're going to talk about ourselves and how we're struggling. Anyhow, the glass needs a refill. No kidding. Maybe something a little harder than diet green tea. Anyhow. So now go out and watch the documentary and tell me I'm not lying. Tell me I'm not lying. The best way to get your political opinion mocked is to get Hollywood celebrities to endorse it. Yeah, no kidding. Although it was kind of funny, I do appreciate the boys and that they will go after the elitism of Hollywood, because they did in season 3. They did do that, like, you know, all the celebrities getting together and imagine a world where no something or another. I can't remember the name of the video. Anyhow, calm down, John. Yeah, no kidding. It's just such a waste of a perfectly good topic that you can't even talk about Paul Newman without talking about your damn selves. Yeah, let's go back to your comments. I've skipped a whole bunch here. Here we go. Let's take a look. Loki Alive. I'm going to go back to your old comments, so don't be surprised I pulled the old ones. Filmmaking is a job, though. I don't know. I feel like all the YouTube film essay paraphernalia has made a lot of people forget that a crew is made of more people than a... Amen, brother. Preach it to the choir. It's not just also the film school paraphernalia. It's also, unfortunately, the whole auteur theory crowd. Film theory crowd basically has ruined it. Basically, don't trust anything that's theory. Critical theories, all those film theories, bullshit. They're all bullshit. Because like auteur theory teaches us that Hitchcock has this singular vision, forgetting that, oh yeah, there's actors involved. There's cinematographers that actually control the camera. You know, that there's other people involved with making a film. Not just Hitchcock is not sitting there with strings on his actors going like, yeah, move your hand, touch your eyebrow. Touch your eyebrow. Oh, okay. Now I'll walk over here. Now the camera moves forward. No, Hitchcock doesn't do that. In fact, that's what film directing isn't about, puppeteering people. And I'm sure, you know, you give me an example of, oh, David Fincher is exacting. Well, maybe he is, but he also has a huge team of people that work for him. You know, and he tells them what to do, and they come back with what they do. That's what really a director is, I think, in the artistic work, at least in filmmaking and theater. The director watches, and he or she gives feedback. And then the other people do the work. It's like a coach, almost like the coach of a football team, or football in both American and English and non-freedom football. But, you know, the coach doesn't make the play. The coach calls the play. The coach directs the people to make the movie. So, but the film essayist and auteur theory has got us thinking that the director is sort of the all-encompassing eye, the pen, which, not really true. Research versus gaslighting. I like your name. Better to separate film theory, in my opinion, from technical video production. That way, genres become more well-formed, as well as industry trends and ratings and distribution. I, I think it's a mistake also to get too highly. I mean, I'm not quite sure I'm not quite sure where you're going with that comment. Although, I mean, I agree with you that you want to separate film theory. Although film theory, I still feel is a lot of navel gazing, and I think there's a lot of bullshit in film theory. Genre especially, because I feel like genre is something that people argue so hard about, and yet it doesn't, in the ultimate world, doesn't really end. Or it doesn't, I'm sorry, in the ultimate, genre doesn't really matter. Like there are things that are genre, like cowboy is a genre, but, you can have a cowboy murder mystery. How does it, there's so much. Genre is like we're talking about, it's like we expect genre to have the objectivity of something like, say, Species. Like, okay, that's a dog, that's a cat. That's objectively true. Or you say that's a cowboy movie and that's a romantic comedy. Well, there can be some interplay between the two. It's not as objective. It's always an element of subjectivity to it. And I don't think that's bad. Third season of The Boys was full of characters that filled the season. Yeah. Some people said they didn't like the third season. I've heard. I liked it. I thought the finale of the third season could have done more. And it didn't. And it kind of returned us back to a place that we were already in. Yes, I know some characters got moved around. But it felt like we're back at zero. And the arc of the show had so much promise going for it that some big stuff was going to happen, but it felt like we just kind of reshuffled the pieces, and now we're back at the beginning. Just things shuffled around a little bit. Anyhow, every institute that exists for more than 100 years gets distorted like that, John. People celebrating themselves are ugly. Yeah, I agree. Is art a job? Ooh, all right, we're going to get philosophical. Yep. I think that Hitchcock is so famous for how he served advertisement sponsored favorite guy. Okay, is art a job? Now, that's a good point. That's a good question. So yes, it is a job if your job is to create artistic things, right? Now, let's say someone like let's just say let's say an actor. I'm just trying to think of an example. Like let us say you have a painter who's famous for making paintings. That's not a good example. Let's just go with a novelist. All right. Now the novelist must create works. Is that a job? Well, yeah, it is, right? I mean, it's work, right? You have to have discipline to make a novel. Like, you can't just make a novel because you feel like it, right? I'm grasping at things. I'm trying to parse out where the difference between job, what you mean by job, and art. Because I think there are jobs where you are required to produce art. That is your job to make some sort of task. Let's, like an example, maybe like a stone carver that created the masterworks of European cathedrals, right? The stone marble architecture of the massive cathedrals. You would consider that art, right? I mean, I would consider it art. It was their job. That was what they did every day to provide their own sustenance. They created a public good, which is the art, right? I might be going too deep in that, but I think to say that creating art is not a job, it's not calling. It's a little too simplistic, I think. Anyhow, hopefully that gets down that line. I know I enjoy entertaining those. I don't think I did a very good job there, though. I think I did a terrible job. If you want to be an auteur filmmaker, you basically need to make anime movies by yourself in your basement. Pretty much. Pretty much. Sean Cobalt says, the ultimate goal is to learn the trade, not count on cashing in and reputation of some university. Good point. Although, if you can cash in on some reputation it might get you that first step in the door. But other than that, sooner or later they're going to realize you're just an idiot There you go. Don't spend a lot of money. You can only justify a huge amount of tuition if you go to USC. And if you go to USC, like, really go to USC. Like, really go. Like, be at every single networking thing and just work the hell out of it. I don't think this person's watching. I knew a girl that went to USC. Now, I don't want to be cruel. I think she got in because she was a girl and she was making movies and she was, a minority. I think they wanted her in there. And I was like, she got in like almost a full ride, like 18 years old. And I was like, wow, you have such an amazing opportunity in front of you. I would jump at that opportunity. I would be working it so freaking hard if I were in USC with a full ride kind of a thing. 2 years later, she just bailed on it because I think she didn't want to be in that business, that kind of business, because it wasn't like, she wanted to make like more like travel vlog stuff, which is fine. But if you're going to go to USC on a full ride, that's what I mean. If you go to USC, go to USC for reals. Anyhow, other than that, you will learn a great deal of business by learning in college. Genre is a marketing tool. Stephen King said it. I always agreed. He's probably right on that. I just learned I suck at the comments thing. That's all right. Auteur theory and death of the author are detrimental to writing and filmmaking. Yeah, I think most theory stuff is basically bullshit. Don't listen to it. I think art is the need for expression. Is it? I don't know. Because I think it's true for people that aren't artists, for art that are artists. But what about people who aren't artists? Like, I was going through one of my home decor stores, and I was looking at all the wall art they had. And I thought, there's no way I would buy any of this stuff. Because if I wanted if I wanted a sign that said, in this house we drink coffee all day long, or some bullshit, some sort of saying that's cute and hooky, like not hooky, but like got a hook, I just design it myself, and I'd have a printer print it, and maybe a little more expensive, but it'd be customized, and I'd make the only one. I wouldn't go buy it in a store. So, for the artist, I don't know if it's a need for expression, although, okay. So, another angle of that is, for me personally, I do feel this need for expression that you're talking about. I feel it deeply. And my life has been so busy and hectic, and I haven't had hardly any outlet for my expression. And also I had issues with my eyes. My eyes are a little bit better. I can see better because I had the wrong glasses. Astigmatism. Anyhow, I feel the need for expression, but I can satisfy that by not necessarily by expressing how exactly I feel, by expressing something else. Like, I get a high from making a really good corporate video. I made a welcome back video for a school district last week, and I got a high from it because I thought it looked great, and it came out really well, and it made me feel good. Like, it gave me that creative expressionism. And it is ultimately just a corporate little welcome back to school. It had some green screen and all that, but it was cool. Art is a job, but if you love what you do, then you never have to work. Oh, I work. I think it's a crock, but I get your sentiment. I know what you're talking about, but you're always working. I mean, I think the work pays off. I don't think there's not a single musician that says, well, there might be a couple musicians that say, I love to practice. No, practice is painful, but performing is awesome. So the same thing with movies. It's like all this pain that you're going through to make a movie, to finally see it and show it. There you go. There you go. I love what I do as a filmmaker, but I don't find it to be hard work. I find some things I do to be very hard work. Well, some things I feel like I'm avoiding. Is genre dilution or expansion when genres are combined? Cyberpunk is just depressing technobabble until you cross it with noir, until we get Blade Runner. Yeah, I feel like genre in a certain way is also kind of a shorthand to kind of do certain things. Like if you were doing cyberpunk, you've kind of already established a premise of, corporatism and technological corporatism, basically invasion of privacy kind of stuff. It carries its own baggage, so that you don't need to establish all of that. Like if you do a cyberpunk, movie, if you do a cyberpunk story, you don't need to necessarily tell everybody why technology is bad. This is expected, So if you did a western, and the bad guy a sheriff shows up, you don't need to establish his whole backstory. Like you already kind of know where his thing is. That's what I'm kind of saying. Is art a job? It depends. If someone doesn't like your art, chances are he or she doesn't regard the artist, or whatever the artist may be, as someone with a job. A little tricky stuff. Try philosophical here too. Yeah. I would not advocate the idea that art is not a job, because there's a lot of blood and sweat and pain in art, and you may like it, you may enjoy it, and I do enjoy it. I'm sweating my ass off here. Is this art? Probably not, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in art, and I wouldn't discount it by not saying it's a job, because oh my God, like, okay, so I'm doing these musicals, right? Like we have to rehearse. And I know the actors are rehearsing like crazy this week. Like every night they're rehearsing. And say, well, that's not a job. I don't want to diminish what they're contributing to the performance, I think that's kind of unfair. And say, well, it's a calling for them. Well, no. They gotta, if everyone did their call, what they thought was a calling, nothing would get done in this world. You gotta pass. The great thing about, unfortunately, okay, if we want to talk about, you ever see those posts when they say, what will your job be when the great communist revolution occurs? And people are like, I'm going to basically grow raspberries in my garden and then teach the occasional underwater basket weaving class to the underprivileged youth in my community. It's like, no, that's not what you're going to do. Because the great thing about capitalism, sorry to throw you guys all under the bus, is that it does act as a sieve for talent, in a sense. Like, I know there are a lot of people that are talented that never succeed, but there are a lot of people that aren't talented who think they're good, but they can't make money at their at whatever art they're making, and eventually they will have to give up that and go do something more productive with their time and actually make money doing something else. So that's the kind of benefit of capitalism and art. There is only so much you don't allow people to pursue really truly frivolous pursuits, because they will just eventually starve to death. That's kind of a good thing, because there's some people who are like, you know what, you don't have it. You need the William Hungs of the world. Okay, that's probably a dated reference. If you're a really terrible singer and like, I want to be a singer, and you're like, you're not good. Even after you've practiced for like 5 years, maybe you don't really love it that much, but they kind of practice. They don't really practice, but they're like, they get up there and like, I love the world. It's like, no, you're not there. Well, they're forced to find other employment because they need to make money. That's kind of a good thing. Sorry. Capitalism is bread and circuses. I mean, part of it is. Part of it is. What do you think? What do you think what we do here is? It's all circuses. Joanne Doe Show says, work and art are not opposites. Even an accountant can love their work. Great point. Great point. I will not push back at all. I totally agree. Work and for certain kinds of accounting, it is art. Rigel 7 says, William Hung, any good? I'm not up on that new stuff. She bangs. Oh, yeah. I can make booze. I hope the booze, homies like booze. Now, some people will say making a great scotch is art. So, why not? I think that's a great job to do. Never regret trying to be an artist, though. It's best and worst experience most people can have, and other than raising children, possibly. So, I agree with that. I'm going to share deeply. This may not resonate with anybody else out there, but I tried very hard to get into this production. It's at the Moonlight Amphitheater in Vista. I saw a show there. I was amazed by the show, the quality of the show, and it was like, relatively close to where I lived. I figured, why not? I want to try to get into the show as being part of the production. So I'm a trumpet player down there, and when the pandemic happened, I thought I would never get called again, because they called me for like third trumpet, and like, okay, whatever. And they called me for that last season, and I was amazed by it. So my whole point was I got to play in a show that got seen by 6,000 people, well, maybe more than that. I would say we get like about 500 or 600 people a night. So multiply that by like 20. So 5 or 6, so about 4,000, right? I don't know. I can't do my math. Like 4,000 people saw this show, enjoyed the show. 4,000 people that did not know who I was, do not watch my streams, don't know anything about me, came to see my show. Maybe they saw my name in the program. They probably just scanned right through it and looked at the girls that are on there. They just ignored me because I don't matter. But I was part of this thing, and I was the only trumpet player in that one show. And the last show, I was the only trumpet player. This show, I'm one of 2 trumpet players. So how many people get to experience that? Not really. I got really philosophical, really kind of emotional. And I was like, if I go back to when I first started playing trumpet at the age of 9, say, you know what, kids, someday stick with this, and someday you're going to experience something that maybe a handful of people in this world get to experience. And be in a pit in a musical and do this thing and hear the laughter of people when they hear the jokes. And you're going to be very, 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 it's a very, very rare thing for people to do. And I just realized how like really different my life was. Like I can go on Facebook and I can read people's posting about their kids or posting about their new car, or it just seems mundane. Like, no, I was in the pit for a musical that thousands of people saw. That's kind of unique, right? Anyhow. So never be. Don't feel bad about trying to pursue the arts, And it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of work. But if you actually put on all the work, maybe you can get to the point where you can use it to help sustain your livelihood, at least partly. They don't pay me enough to sustain my livelihood, but they pay enough to at least get down there and back for gas money and a little bit extra. There you go. So one thing that's an art is the automotive stylist, which is why GM's 1959 and 1960 cars were radically styled since they were literally sculpted from clay. Quick, what is the camshaft angle for a 1967 Dodge turbo? No, never mind. It's a horrible My Cousin Vinny reference. My Cousin Vinny, come on, kids! No, nothing. Never mind. Let's see. Was she an artist? I don't know. We're jumping ahead. Let's just jump back a ways here. David Cassidy was an artist when he forced to do work until he broke free in his own and he stopped considering it art. Be very careful. I think we're talking about David Cassidy. Like, be very, very careful with like, because you don't know his life. You really don't. Unless you're like best friends with him, you really don't know what someone's life is and what their experience is necessarily. So, like, what I'm saying is, entertainment industry is the absolute king of fake news and misinformation, because that's what they do. They create narratives, right? So like the example I would give is Alfred Hitchcock. There's a famous poster out there for North by Northwest, which shows the storyboards of North by Northwest, the crop duster scene, and it shows like the next side by side with the actual footage, and you're like, oh wow, the brilliant mind of Alfred Hitchcock and how he storyboarded it all. Then you realize that the storyboards were drawn after the movie was shot. They didn't have a storyboard when they made the movie. They already had some ideas of how they were going to shoot it, but they didn't storyboard it. So it's all bullshit. So be careful when you say, well, this person was, he wanted to do art. Yeah, but, that's all a story that people tell. And even if it comes from their horse's mouth, even if they say, like, oh, this is why, they're sometimes they're just self-aggrandizing themselves. It's the whole, I think what I wanted to get with the whole art and job discussion is to just be a little bit more, rise above the, I'm trying to create a sense of understanding. Rise above the, stop being a basic bitch. Let's just put it that way. Rise above awareness that it is not just, oh, art is a job, art is this. No. It's everything. It's a lot more complicated, deeper than just like, oh, art is a calling, art is not work, art is work. It's way more complicated than that. Way more complicated. Anyhow. Should I transfer to my local college to get a BA or go to university and get my BSc? I don't know. There's a difference between the two, really. And going to be a cinematographer, I don't want to mess it up. I think other people might have chimed in on that. You will not, if you're a cinematographer, your reel is, I think, all that matters. If you already have a network going for you, good. But no one hires a cinematographer based on their credentials. They hire their cinematographer based on their reel. So if your reel looks amazing, if you come off as an incredible, great worker, you get along with people very well, I don't see any reason what would stop you. I don't see how getting a BA or here local college or going to university somewhere else would matter. It's just a matter of what opportunities you get exposed to. But then again, it's all about your reel. Like the credential does not matter at all. One thing, okay, we already talked about that one. There's no such thing as a horrible My Cousin Vinny reference. That movie is a classic. Totally agreed. Big with the Utes. All right. The entertainment industry hasn't been that good in the past 10 years, and that's why I watch your channel, such as yours, and many more that are more entertaining than those on TV. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I mean, unfortunately, so let's talk a little about this because I kind of I kind of feel like it's time. You remember when Disney bought Fox, and everyone's like, "Oh, Disney is unstoppable. Disney is just this massive behemoth that can't be stopped. They have Star Wars, they have Marvel, they have Fox now. They're just insanely. We're going to be crushed by Disney." Look where we are now. Look where we are. Do you think Disney is on the verge of taking everything over? Or do you think they're facing some serious, serious problems? Because the way I see it, Disney is going the wrong direction. Because the old saying, and I'm going to pull an "I told you so." The old saying is the worst day for a company is when it becomes number one. Because where do you go from number one? Nowhere to go but down. And I feel like Disney is going down. Like I feel like it has gotten way too bloated. It is taking on some cultural issues that is pissing off part of its core base. You can't. There are certain things that it's doing that are pissing off certain conservative families, and unfortunately, truth of the matter is, a lot of their audience does not agree with the political views that Disney is espousing, and they will be reflected in what's going to what's coming down. And look at Marvel. We say, "Oh my God, superhero movies are going to be everywhere." Well, they are everywhere. And does anyone care about superhero movies? The interest at least in my own personal thing, I don't have a quarter of the interest I have in the new Marvel properties I did when Endgame came out. Like Endgame, I was excited for, and I enjoyed it, and I got swept up in the hype. But I haven't gotten swept up in anything since. You know, I've enjoyed a couple things here and there, but just hasn't really gone in there. Look at Star Wars. Does anyone care about Star Wars anymore? So I think Disney's getting really hit in the face right now. Disney is like the General Motors of the entertainment industry. I think Disney is gonna, in long term, I don't know. Like, they've got to really, they're in dangerous waters, because I just don't see them. I don't see how they come out of this. Like, they have to, like, the policy of Disney seems to be buy stuff as it's getting popular. And then what? I don't know. Corporations are groups of individuals. They make wrong decisions. They fail. Absolutely. I think Disney is not. Again, Disney, when they became so big and so strong. That's when they became the weakest. They start to die off. So that's my prediction. Well, not really a prediction. It's kind of the realization that you can be scared of Disney all you want, but the fact of the matter is, it gets so big, eventually, nothing. Well, if you go through the couple of studio videos I made about the history of studios, you see it over and over again. Rise, crash. Rise, crash. Rise, crash. You are, in the famous Batman, you are the hero. You are the villain until you. What was it? You are the hero until the villain. I don't know. You're only a hero so long until you live long enough to be the villain, something like that. Look at the what's his face? Dang it! I can't remember his name. The guy from Fox, not William Fox. The guy started 20th Century Pictures. I'm so blanking. Daryl F. Zanuck. Look at his son too. His son was a huge at Fox, and then he got so bad his dad fired him. And then the shareholders fired Daryl Zanuck because they thought it was such a disgusting move. So the problem with the political views Disney or Hollywood made is that they use them to shield their shit quality. Yeah. Well, I think also I'm going to get political here. The problem with big giant corporations is that they have to pander toward pleasing every employee, or they have to play everything safe. And so I think some of the more extremist views, especially on the left of politics, they don't want to piss off people in those extreme views, because they will make a huge stink about things. You can piss off the right all you want, because they don't make a big stink, because part of the right's philosophy is live and let live, and people can have different opinions, and that's okay. Not so much for some of the left, some of the farthest left stuff. So I think Disney does tend to attract a certain kind of artist. And that's probably not politically correct to say. I mean, I don't think what the hell? I'm not going to get certain people that. There's a lot of Peter Pan syndrome in Disney. Let's be honest. There's a lot of Peter Pan syndrome in Disney. So they will kind of gravitate toward that particular kind of thought process. And I think it's gonna affect them. It just will. And if you were, like, say you're put in charge of Disney, it's a hard. You can't go hard. You can't take a hard stance on it, because then you piss off a huge chunk of your employees, and they make a big stink. Then you're in bigger trouble than you started. It's not an easy thing to tow. So I don't know how far we want to go down that road. And who watches a dead duck? Nobody, not even the mom. And she just flies off depressed. Yep, sure. I don't know. I'm sure it's a longer thread in there. I just missed it all. If they believe in them, they would never work to remove a black guy's face from a poster in the Star Wars reboot release. Whoever believed their crap, it's a job. Yeah, well, it also goes to show you just like how much the pandering toward China is. And don't get me wrong, I do not like China. As a Taiwanese person, I was born in Taiwan. I haven't been to Taiwan in 30 years, but still, it's where I was born. And China, as in the famous words, China is asshole. China is asshole. Vatican has 2,000 years of succession. Not true, because the Vatican did not exist 2,000 years ago. Actually, booyah! Learn your history. Yeah, Vatican didn't start till like the 600 AD or something like that, right? Tara, right? Well, before there was common knowledge, the point more that people don't act natural in front of a camera. Everyone hams it up and acts out. Oh, we're talking about reality TV. Yeah, reality TV is fake. John Hess did a video on Fox. Yep, I sure did. Would you say this is a repeat of the 70s, 80s in film industry? We praise mediocrity because we've been deprived of actual great films. No, not necessarily, because the 70s, 80s, you can't, two big giant differences between 70s and 80s and today. We have the internet, which is such a transformative thing that you cannot compare almost any time to today, because the internet changes so much of how we perceive the free flow of information. Like before in the 70s and 80s, I could not do this show. I might be able to do a pirate radio station that 10 people listen to. Yeah, there's only like 10 people on this thing right now. But still, it does not, the kind of free flow of information doesn't exist. So that is such a drastic difference between the 70s and 80s and today. I think that's a major thing. There's the media is so much more spread apart. You know, back in the 70s, 80s, there was only 70s, 80s, there was 3 channels. That's it. That's all you watched. Now we have cable. We have every freaking streamer. Hell, you can start a TV channel on like Roku. You can actually just buy a TV channel. Did you know that? I didn't realize that till I could literally create the Filmmaker IQ Roku channel. I could do that and just run my videos all day long. I should. I don't know how to make money doing that, but you can do that. So anyhow, this is getting too based for YouTube. I know. I'm going to get in trouble for that. What the hell? What are you going to do to me? So yeah. Anyway, 70s and 80s. Yeah, I don't think it's quite the same thing. And don't forget, we also have the rise of video games that are considerably different than the video games of the 70s and 80s. So I think that's a real threat to the cinema. And I think there's a lot more people these days that just play video games. That's all they do. They don't watch movies. They don't watch TV shows. They spend, every non-working hour playing video games. I'm not bashing them. I'm not saying that, because when I was a kid, I spent those working hours watching television, watching movies. So it's just different flavors for different folks. So those people are definitely different, and they're not going to have the same kind of movie culture. And the argument people tell me is like, well, kids today are playing so much video games, they're used to high frame rates. So that's why movies need to be high frame rate. My argument with that is, well, what makes you think they're going to start watching movies? They're playing video games for 6 hours a day. Why would they just stop that and watch movies? Why? They're playing video games. So, and then that's not the crowd you want to cater to. You want to cater to the crowd that actually watches movies. Now, there's obviously people that do both. I do both. Although I haven't been able to play video games for a long time, so that sucks. Anyhow, I'm getting tired, but at least it's getting cooler because the sun's going down. There are probably people that think the WWE is real too. Yeah. Sean says, I hope to see the Disney make The Little Mermaid versus Alien, LOL. And I hope it's PG-13, if you get my drift. Okay, almost 2,000 years talking about the Vatican. Not quite even almost. It's like 1,600 years or 1,400 years, because I think the Vatican starts around 600 AD. So it obviously because when Christ dies in 32 AD, whatever you want to call it, it's not really an organized religion yet. So it takes like a long time for it's underground religion. Is kind of a cult status. That's the whole story about the Romans putting the Christians in the Colosseum, being fed to lions and all that stuff. So there's a long time there where you have to actually, establish a church. It wasn't until you get the Holy Roman Empire, and And that's when you. I don't know. I'm not even sure if that's correct or not. But I don't know the history of the Vatican. But I just know that it takes time. So somewhere in there, the Vatican, and then of course you have. I mean, the whole Vatican history is interesting too, because if you watch the movie with Charlton Heston and what's his face from My Fair Lady, the Agony and the Ecstasy. That's kind of an interesting movie because it's about this pope who basically is a war pope. I know, right? He's literally, he leads armies and conquers lands. He's one of the military popes. He's going around conquering places, and he hires Charlton Heston, who's playing the guy that painted the Sistine Chapel. He's like, I need this chapel. You need to paint this chapel. And the guy's like, dude, I'm a sculptor. I'm not a painter. Like, quit! Don't, why are you asking me? He's like, no, you're going to do it. You're painting the Sistine Chapel. I was like, God damn it, I got to paint the Sistine. So he's like, I was like, God, I hate this. It takes years and years. So the whole movie's kind of interesting because it's based on a book. Anyhow, it's a good movie. But it's not like one of the great everyone remembers movies. But it's a kind of a cool movie. I saw a little bit of it on TV back in the day when TV was real. Like, actually showed movies. Anyhow. You can go literally on YouTube and watch a large variety of content versus back when you can only watch this on TV, and that was your VHS tapes and recorded TV shows. Yeah, exactly. And what kind of bugs me too is I make a lot of Gilligan Island references because when I was a kid, I would come home, and Gilligan Island was on my Fox affiliate. I would watch Gilligan Island almost every day. So I love Gilligan Island. Gilligan's Island is awesome. Now I have a friend who's a Boy Scout, the same age as me. He never watched TV as a kid, and he has no reference to Gilligan's Island, and it bugs the crap out of me. Like, how do you not know Gilligan's Island, dude? Do. There once was a man from a sailing boat. So, whatever, I forget the. And Gilligan is skipper too. And Marianne, or the millionaire and his wife, the movie star, and Professor Anne, Marianne, here on Gilligan's Isle, right? I just butchered that. Anyhow, so that was my exposure as a kid. And then I had friends who had cable who would watch Nick at Night. And Nick at Night was their exposure to things like Golden Girls and other shows from the 80s, like Perfect Strangers and stuff like that. And on Saturdays, I got exposed to Mr. Belvedere. So all these shows I got exposed to because television basically forced me, because they didn't want to put on some expensive TV show. They put in the reruns on some old show. I got exposed to all this culture from the past that I didn't get to experience. But nowadays, there's none of that. Like, a kid today will have no idea what Gilligan's Island is. They might see Golden Girls on TV when they go visit their dentist's office. Like, I always get, every time I see it, whenever I go to a dentist's office, I always see the Golden Girls on there. I don't know why. I get my appointment at the same time every time. Anyhow, so, like, today, unless you're seeking Gilligan's Isle, and you know it's Gilligan's Island, not Gilligan's Isle, but Gilligan's Island, you'll never watch Gilligan's Island unless you're actively looking for Gilligan's Island. And soon, people like me, that all boomers back here who watch Gilligan's Island, we're going to die, and then no one will look up Gilligan's Island unless they watch like some reference to it on like the most modern show, and then maybe they'll discover it. But that'll be a tiny fraction. It's weird. Like, our shared sense of culture, of American culture at least, is greatly eroded. It's greatly fragmented. Maybe that's what's going on with society today. But everyone watches The Office, right? Some big shows, like people always understand. Making me feel old, John. I know. Gilligan's Island, come on. But that show came out 80 years ago. No, 60 years ago. Sorry about that. 60 years ago. It's huge. Anyhow. Yeah, the worst kind of teacher is the one that preaches his politics to students. Let them decide the way they want to change society or not. I agree. Here's the thing. When I make my modules for this class, one of the things is going to be to make like a little montage video. And the prompt is open. Make it about whatever you want. And I imagine there's going to be some people that make it about politics. And I have my own very strong feelings about politics myself. I don't like to share them because I don't like to get canceled. No, but so I kind of gave it away right there, right? No, but I have my own feelings about politics. I think of myself as someone that tries to look above basic tribalism and try to understand where both sides are coming from. That's what I try to do, honestly. But what pains me is to see that one tribe just calling the other tribe just the most awful things, and it goes both ways. But it does go both ways. Honestly, it does go both ways. So I'm gonna be, with my class, I think the way I'm gonna approach it is, you're perfectly allowed to do whatever you want. Let's keep things PG-13 for the sake of professionalism, because we want to try to instill a little bit of professionalism in this class. You want to do your OnlyFans later? You can do that your OnlyFans later. Let's not do it in the classroom. But I don't want class time to turn into a political fist fight. After class, have at it. But in class, let's stick with the technical stuff side of things. That's how I think I want to approach the politics question. So anyhow, I'm getting tired, guys. Sorry about it. Yeah, it's 6:30 now, so we'll keep going for a little bit because I'm having fun. And I haven't been on for a while, so let's talk. Let's hang out. There are certain older shows that younger people talk about them when Netflix or another big streaming service starts streaming them. I don't know. Like, the thing is, how do they discover them? That's the question. I mean, other than people just like talking, like Cowboy Bebop. Okay, Cowboy Bebop, everyone talks about. If you're an anime fan, you gotta watch Cowboy Bebop. So I guess there's certain genres, certain things, certain like culture things that we're like that there'll be like required viewing. But I don't know if anybody will ever watch like Family Ties. Who says, hey, you gotta watch Family Ties? You gotta watch Meredith Baxter Burney to understand all those references on Family Guy, I guess. I don't know. I love watching movies that show what happened in horrible times and places and inform me about consequences. Shipping interracial gay couple in a show does nothing. I've seen them in real life already. Showing interracial gay couples in a show does nothing. I'll be honest. So what I don't like is being brave when being brave is not really brave. That's what I don't like. It's like, well, we're going to take a brave stance on hatred. We're going to take a brave stance on bullying. Well, what is that stance? I'm anti-bullying. That's brave. No, it's not brave. It's not brave at all. It's the most mainstream opinion. I'm taking a brave stance on bigotry. What's that? What is that? I'm against it. Well, that's not brave at all. Brave would be like, and I've dealt with this. Like, I felt this way all my life. It's like, well, brave would be to be for bigotry. That'd be brave. Maybe stupid, but that'd be brave. I feel like that's the brave thing to say. But, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a lot of our politics is basically just, well, it is. It's just basically virtue signaling and just trying to make ourselves appear more righteous and virtuous. Like I had the other day, I keep this little flag here because I am a proud American and I like the fact that I'm American. I got problems with this country just like every other American does. But, I came here as an immigrant. Although I was a naturally born citizen, but for all intents and purposes, I was treated as an immigrant. I was treated as a Chinese person that came to America. I was in Taiwan. I was treated as an American that lived in China, Taiwan. So I never felt at home, right? But I appreciate the opportunities this country has, and I appreciate the kind of the core beliefs and the core systems that we have in this country. However, some commenter on one of my videos, 60 frame per second video, that movie about Gemini Man, was saying like, oh, this guy must be a stupid moron because he's got an American flag. It's like, that sure looks like bigotry there, doesn't it? That sure looks like some small-minded bigotry and hatred there, just to pick that out. Anyhow, I know I'm blabbing at this point. Blabbing and putting my foot in my mouth and getting myself in trouble. Just saying that, I don't know, just feels like a lot of people want to be virtuous, But not a lot of people want to put the work into actually being virtuous, because it's not easy and it's tough to be virtuous and to be fair. Very, very hard. But it's so easy to shame the other person and tell them how horrible they are. Political parties call each other names like 12-year-olds in middle school. There was, I'll piggyback on that. There was, during Obama's term, there was a point where Obama thought the mic was off, and he was saying something. I forget what it was. It was just kind of like he was talking about something. And it was non-consequential. He was talking about like, oh, did you see that last episode of like a Boardwalk Empire? It was I really hate that guy. Something like that. Something very inconsequential, right? But the mic was off. He was not supposed to be on the record, and boy, the news media just went to town and just shared that like it was like a freaking high school party. Oh, did you hear what Barry said about Johnny over there? Oh my God, it's such juicy. Like, I hate the media. I just hate the news media. Oh my God. Middle schoolers. Some older shows have aged like milk, though. Comedy in particular. Yeah. I got stuck in a loop last night watching Laugh-In. Like I didn't think it was that great, but I enjoyed watching it just because I enjoyed a look of a different period. It just felt different. But I got started watching a bunch of Laugh-In because I was trying to find examples of editing for my class, but I didn't find what I was looking for. So whatever. The last blockbuster documentary made me realize something very important. What was that? Don't leave us hanging. Rick H says, when am I going to start putting together my short film feature? What do you think you want to do? Horror, sci-fi, drama, romance. So my plan right now, I got to get through these shows. I got to finish my house. Right now I got to clear out the family room, which when I was doing the kitchen, I put everything in the kitchen in my family room. So now I got to move everything out of my family room, like into the garage, so they can do the floors. And that'll take me about a month. I'm doing musicals for every night, every weekend until October. So I realistically can't start any serious work on that. We do have 3 scripts that we wrote. I've talked about this before, that we want to do like the table reads and do some very short scene work, just to get some juices going and get some filming. As far as like what I would like to do, as far as a feature length film, I would love to. I think I'd probably end up going in the direction of a comedy romance, maybe a romantic comedy. No, it's a comedic romance. It's not a romantic comedy. It's a comedic romance, people. Get it right. No. We had this idea. I'll share it anyway, whatever. There's this play called The Triumph of Love. It's from the French writer from the 1700s. It's hilarious, although this was written well before the pre-woke stuff, right? Because it's about a girl that visits a guy, a kingdom of reason. And she's in love with the son, but she dresses up as a man to try to fool everybody that she's a man coming to this this kingdom of reason where only men are allowed. But she doesn't fool anybody. But anyhow, it's a lot of cross dressing, a lot of they don't misgendering basically. I think it's hilarious. It may I think it'll be fine in today's society. I think most people are not quite as woke to think that's somehow problematic. But I would love to do that, take that from the 1700s and do it as a steampunk version. I think that'd be cool. That might be a little bit beyond my reach, but I've got some other ideas. I've got a short film in my mind that I've half written out that I like to rewrite, but there's stuff I want to do. But right now I'm just trying to make it through my life. Also, I take care of my mom. Right now I have a caregiver at her house right now. She's gone by now. So that also kind of makes it hard on me to do all this stuff. So anyhow, that's the story. Let's see. I watch sometimes Married with Kids. Married with Children. My favorite series is Claudius. I've never heard of Claudius. Hugh says, it's kind of funny now. There's no such thing as a cult classic. For example, Blade Runner wouldn't be anywhere near as popular as it would without the internet. I disagree on that. Blade Runner was pretty popular before the internet. I'm trying to think of a cult classic. Maybe like The Room wouldn't be as popular. I'm trying to think of a cult classic that I think there's a lot of cult classics. I think if you go down the rounds of like stuff that Red Letter Media does on the VHS stuff, and they watch those really, really bad old movies, that's kind of more of a cult classics. Well, they're cult movies, let's put it that way. Brave, I think this is going back to rant. Brave is someone who knows what to fear and what not. Interesting thought. Like that. I saw Kate and Allie when I was a kid, and it was the first time I understood that TV could be bad. Good. That's a good line. Representation matters, yep. But tokenism is worse, and the Bechdel test wasn't meant to be some goal. Yeah, I know. Anyone that quotes the Bechdel test, like, have you guys read the original comic that it came from? It was a joke. But, yeah, that's what they did with it, I'm not gonna relay the story about me and like okay, well, I'll just go somewhere and say that I think something like male gaze, and not talking about the men that love other men. No, male gaze is in Gaze. Male gaze is one of the worst, like, tropes. It is so bullshit, and it's so, like, unsubstantiated tripe, and it's kind of like it's kind of one of the foundational understanding of feminist film theory. And it's like, no, like do you automatically assume that whatever you're looking at is male? Like, there's a classic example of a male gaze is when you have a shot that starts at the feet of let's say a beautiful woman walks into the bar, and you start at the foot, and you pan up. Not pan up. Oh, I just committed an evil sin. You tilt up, and then you see her. Well, hello, darling. How you doing? That's male gaze. Well, why was it male gaze? Why are you assuming it's not female gaze? You think women can't? You're saying women aren't capable of like taking in a full body picture? Like, I get there are some male gaze shots. Okay, well, let's have Wonder Woman's butt in the shot, just like prominently in place. Okay, I get that's appeals to a certain demographic of audiences, but is it purely male? I mean, why you don't think women can't appreciate a nice butt? I mean, it is sex appeal, of course, but it's not male gaze. It's just sex appeal. I'm adding TNA to the shot. For lack of better terms, it's as a form of production value. You're increasing production value by adding TNA because people like to see that. Not just men, I would argue. Women some women like to see that too. In fact, one of the girls I used to want to date likes to see that now. Probably because of me. Revealing too much about myself. Anyhow, I'm not a fan of that stuff. Anyhow. Sean 806, CNN spent over $300 million on a streaming app, but ended up canceling it since only 10,000 people signed up for it. Seems like it could very well be beginning of the end of CNN. I don't know. CNN is isn't they owned by Time Warner and all that stuff? They got more money. They might have to shuffle things around a little bit. Yeah, MASH is always... I never liked MASH until I got into college, and I got really into MASH. I like MASH. Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. That's what it stands for. And the good question, you can always tell when somebody who watched MASH and people who didn't watch MASH. What war did MASH take place in? And they say Vietnam War, they don't know. They never watched the show. They don't know anything about MASH. But the reality is MASH took place in the hills of Los Angeles. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like anything like Korea. It doesn't look anything like Korea, nor does it look like Vietnam. It looks like California. Kids today don't see the old stuff because everything they get is supposed to is fresh. I agree with that. And that's what it was lost when browsing the aisles for, yeah. Although, I'll be honest, I hated browsing the aisles of the video store. Yeah, they might cancel. I'm sure they've already canceled me. I'm long canceled. I'm too old. I'm canceled. Bye-bye. Is MASH a series on D+? Really? Disney Plus or Discovery Plus? I can't tell which D Plus you're talking about. I don't think MASH is. I guess was it owned by Fox? I don't know. Maybe. Did you guys ever see that Blockbuster video documentary? I don't recommend it if you do. It's not good. It's not good. It's awful. Well, it's not awful, but it wastes so much time. There's a whole segment where they talk about the smell of Blockbuster. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell remembers the smell of Blockbuster? I used to go to Blockbuster. I never remembered the smell of Blockbuster. Never. What major Hollywood studio, not necessarily in Hollywood, is currently producing quality content and why? A24 is probably good. Probably the first one off my top of my head. A24 is good. As far as Americans, I don't know the rest of the world, so I'm trying to think of anything else. A24, I would go see anything they make. I mean, I wouldn't go see anything they make because they make a lot of schlocky, well, not schlocky, but like kind of high concept horror films. Horror films. And I'm not totally into all of that stuff, but A24 is pretty good. All right. Yes, Minister, the thick of it. Why are these informed me about politics and the power and why things don't change, and I forever be grateful. Yeah. Yep. I like shows like that, too, where they're a little bit more, say, awake. A little more awake, right? Am I cutting there the dangerous there? A little more awake to the reality of the world. Dare I say, awoken to the realities of power and politics. Okay, never mind. I don't know where I'm going with that. Hopefully this is entertaining to you. Hopefully you find me babbling and walking a tight wire of basically getting canceled and being hated on by every single popular media. I don't know. I'm not going to be hated. I'm not going to get canceled. People that say they're going to get canceled probably are not going to get canceled. Most people. A couple of people are. I don't think so. Let's see. Hulu. I think that's in reference to that comment. People are watching MSK3, whatever, Mystery Science Theater, in Elvira long before the internet existed. Yep, that's true. Oh, I, Claudius. Yeah, I, Claudius is a BBC series. Yep. Oh, okay, I, Claudius. Yeah, I've heard of I, Claudius. I didn't get that reference at first. I never watched that, though. I watched Faulty Towers. When were we talking about Faulty Towers? Faulty Towers is awesome. Okay. While woke representation only shows me that the middle class people need something to complain about. That's one of the arguments too, that we're kind of in a golden age, that we're so well off that we basically have to look for things to complain about. And in some ways that's kind of true. I mean, as much as we hate the gas prices, and believe me, as a Californian, I really hate the gas prices, there's still plenty of gas. They haven't run out. And in the 70s, they were running out. There was line. You can only buy gas if your license plate ended on a certain number and all that stuff. So, well, I don't know where I'm going with that. I, Claudius, is a BBC production from 1976. I think it's great production, a bit theatrical. It's on YouTube. I recommend it. Scientists were being referred to as brilliant in my current least favorite trope. Yeah, so I got into a little bit on this on my... I think what the problem is, we also have a popular understanding of science that is not really science. Like there is that old meme of what's his face from Breaking Bad? Yeah, science. We basically conflate science and magic now, instead of science as a means to attempt to discover the truth, even though it may not be the truth. So like Bill Nye, the science guy, he's made in science a thing. It's science. How can you disagree with it? It's science. It's like, no, you got to explain the science. Science is a process, is a technique of discovering. It's actually philosophy. That's why a PhD is a philosophy degree. It's not a truth degree. It's a philosophy. Anyhow, yeah. MASH is a nice song from the intro. Johnny Mandel. Do 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 do. Suicide is painless it makes us something famous. And we can all do it if we try. Something like that. I don't know the lyrics. No, I never read the MASH novel. I'm not a big reader. I'm pretty bad. For that matter, have you guys ever read the Forrest Gump novel? Did you even know Forrest Gump was based on a novel? I didn't until I researched it one time. Yeah, it's crazy. Apparently the Forrest Gump novel is like way different because like Forrest Gump is like obese and a southerner. Like he's totally different. Totally different. They shot MASH in Florida? No, they didn't. They shot it in California, didn't they? Yeah, they didn't shoot MASH in Florida because Florida doesn't have any hills. The highest elevation of Florida is like 250 feet. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they shot MASH in California. We can look it up real quick. Where did they shoot MASH? Malibu Creek State Park in Malibu. That's what I thought. At least the TV show. I don't know. Was the movie filmed in Hollywood or Florida? Let's see. Where's the shoot MASH movie? It doesn't say. Filming locations. There it is. Malibu State. No, they shot it in Malibu State Park. Yeah, filming in 1970. Malibu State Park, Griffith Park, Malibu Country Club, Fox Studios, and Fox Studios Stage 8. Misinformation. Fact check. CNN fired their editor-in-chief right after the Biden inauguration, and 40% of the ratings fell. Let's be honest, CNN existed because of Trump. That's the only reason people were watching it. Trump was a gold mine for the news media. For pro-Trump against anti-Trump doesn't matter. He was a gold mine for the media. You couldn't get enough. He was so entertaining to both sides of the aisle that it floated that news boat for another 4 years. And if he gets reelected, then CNN's coming back. So CNN's probably on the favor of having Trump back because then every single night it's like the walls are closing in on Trump. The walls are closing in every single night. It's all ratings, it's all money. Let's see. CNN could have spent $300 million on firing all the TV hosts that spread bogus news and hired new reporters, hosts, and journalists. The thing about that, though, is I believe that the people that spread the bogus news thought they were spreading honest, truthful news. Because it's one of those things where I honestly think that Trump so enraged people on a certain political aisle, so enraged them that they would believe whatever they wanted to believe about him. Like anything would be true. Like it just. And I've in my age, and I'm not the oldest person here. Sorry, Rick. I'm not picking on you. But in my life, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor in California, I was a substitute teacher at the time. And the teachers union hated because Schwarzenegger was trying to regulate the teachers a little bit, to try to rein them back. Because in California, the teachers make up like a huge chunk of the budget. I don't know if it's like majority, but it's a good sizable chunk of the budget was paying for education. And so they're trying to rein back the teachers a little bit, at least get them a little more accountable. So they were trying to raise like the tenure from 3 years or 2 years to 5 years. So you couldn't get tenure until 5 years of being in a teacher. Well, the teachers union hated Schwarzenegger so much. And I started, and this is 2004, 2005. And I was like, I wonder if I could start a fake news site and like start floating rumors about Schwarzenegger, because these teachers will believe anything. That any rumor being spread will be believed by, because they hated him so much that anything could be, he would fall for anything. He would literally fall for anything. And sure enough, 20 years later, I feel that way about modern politics. And it's not just people that hated Trump. The right wing does it too. Like now you go online and you can just say, hey, vaccines cause people to lose their dick. And a lot of people on the right would say, I know it. I knew it, and they would fall for it. They would fall for it because we're so unwilling to challenge our beliefs on anything. And believe me, I challenge my belief on 24 frames a second every time I see something that's not 24 frames a second. I do. I am so... I tell you how many times I've clicked on the right click, stats for nerds, just to check the frame rate. Say, oh, no, I'm right. That was 30 frames. Again, I'm guilty. We're all guilty of it. I'm not saying anything. I'm getting low energy, guys. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm getting tired. I'm getting hot and tired. But I don't want to be upsetting to people. I don't want to upset people here. Well, I'm getting a little upset. I'm hoping you understand where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from any animosity. I don't want to hate people. I don't. I want to embrace everyone's viewpoint. I just don't want people being petty and angry at each other. This is about frame rate. Just kidding. Anyhow. Fortunately, White Supremacy World was canceled and all the trades worked out. Yep. That's the thing. It's like also like now everything you're just gonna lump everybody into white. Like forget the fact that there were we had Anglicans versus the Catholics in English. Forget the fact that for a long time we didn't consider Italians white. For a long time, even Irishmen were not considered white folks. Which makes you what? It's all okay. I'm going to express this. There are groups in society that exist, right? That exist only because to solve a problem. And if that problem gets solved, then their purpose of existence goes away. So that problem can never, ever be solved because they cannot go away. That's how they make their money. Like if I made, let's say, I could keep pumping up in a way. I'm trying to make it all about me and all about my filmmaking. In a way, if I start a society for the preservation of 24 frames per second, even though the threat is not real, I need to keep amplifying the threat because I need you to donate to me to preserve 24 frames a second. Pretend like it's not going to go away. And unfortunately, our society is full of those rent-seeking groups that they will not solve a problem. And I've thought about this a lot. I've said it a lot. You know who makes the most money for the Democratic Party? Donald Trump. Donald Trump makes more money for the Democrats than any other person. You know who makes the most money for Republicans? AOC. They exist to produce money for the Republicans will never want to get rid of AOC. They love AOC. They can't stop talking about AOC. The Democrats, they can't stop talking about Trump. If Trump goes away, what are they going to do? They raise so much money based on Trump. That's the reality of it. And that's what's so disheartening about it. It's like it's like the Batman and the Joker. They can't go away. You can't just get rid of one of them. You can't, otherwise we don't have any stories. We don't have any more Batman movies if the Joker is gone. You got to bring Joker back. And unfortunately, that makes you very nihilistic in the end because you're like, oh, so all that virtue signaling is just bullshit. You just want to raise money. That's all you're doing. It's all you just want me to give you money. That's all it is. It's a big cycle. Then you find out they're just fist bumping in Congress. Yeah, oh cool, whatever. Anyhow, it's so hot. I escaped Memphis 104 to San Diego 82 for Comic-Con. I almost didn't come back. Yeah, well, it's about 90 here. Am I in the Los Angeles area or San Diego? I'm halfway between. So I'm outside of. So you have LA County, which is over here, San Diego County, which is to the south, and then Orange County is like right between, and then Inland Empire is like over here. So I'm like right here between Inland Empire and San Diego County. So it's a little bit easier for me to get down to San Diego than it is to get to LA. But I actually rather prefer San Diego because it's just nicer. LA is a dump. LA is, this is about the time during the pandemic I drove down one street that was kind of Skid Row. Oh my God. It looked like Fallujah during war times. It was awful. Like LA is such a trash dump. It's horrible. I've thought, like again, I've thought about in my younger days. I've thought about maybe I'd make the move to LA to be inside the film circles, but it's really expensive to live anywhere that's decent. And if you could spend like $300,000-$400,000 to live in like Watts, like the worst shithole place. Sorry, Watts. And it's just you're spending a lot of money to live in a really crappy area, and it's just awful. Just awful. Anyhow, hopefully, my last political opinion. Check the Atlantic article: How Bobo Break America. Media distorted because the creative class controls the flow of information, and they are terrible at it. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, Atlanta has a lot of jobs now too. Yeah, I don't know. I've been fixing my house. I don't want to move anywhere. Although Atlanta, I'd be afraid of the humidity in Atlanta. And Austin might be nice. Austin may be kind of cool too. But right, and I was looking at, and Rick knows because I came out to Memphis area because I was looking at like Nashville, and I saw a house today. Like Zillow sent me a house. Oh, it's only 50 miles away from Nashville, Indiana. I'm like, Nashville, Indiana? What the hell's Nashville, Indiana? So I Googled Nashville, Indiana, population 1,500. I'm like, okay, I'm not moving to Nashville, Indiana. Because, if I haven't said it on this thing, I am straight. Sorry, guys. I am straight. I am not married. So if you know somebody that likes to talk to a bald man and talk about frame rate, I am available. But if I move somewhere with a population of 1,500, I'm never going to fucking meet anybody. So yeah, I need to actually move to places where there is a population of single people that maybe are interested in becoming not single anymore. You would melt in Atlanta. Yeah. San Diego's better than LA. Can get there faster from the Inland Empire. Plus, the traffic isn't as bad in San Diego. Yeah, traffic is evil in Los Angeles. Oh, it's funny. The traffic, because most people that live in the Inland Empire go to San Diego for work. And when I go to my show at night, because my show is in San Diego County, it's in North San Diego. It's in a place called Vista. I'm driving against traffic. So all the people that work in San Diego are driving back, and I'm just flying by like, oh, sorry, guys. You guys are in for a real straight UTs. Well, what have you heard? Never mind. All right, I'll share this. So on the my play, there's this girl. If you look at some of my old videos, you might see her. But I had a falling out with her because I did some stuff with her. I did some work for her, trying to help her out with something, and she just was like trying to open a restaurant. I think I've shared this online. It's late. No one's watching. The numbers are probably nothing. So I can. It's just between you and me. All right, we can get through this. So yeah. So I was doing a lot of stuff for her to open this restaurant, bar, like a bar. It wasn't her restaurant, but it was like she was working for somebody. And then I was there till like 4 a.m. many nights, just helping her. And I was like hardcore crushing on her. I thought I was being forward, but I probably wasn't because, she's not a mind reader. I thought I was making my intentions, but apparently not. But the restaurant opened, and she basically almost like ignored me, treated me like as if I wasn't even there. And I was like so pissed off, and I was just like, you know what, I'm done with her. So I cut her off, and I got pissed off, and I mean, and I kind of made it a point, like, in this world, we don't ever choose to stop seeing somebody unless we choose to stop seeing them. Like, we actually have to make an effort to say, no, I don't want to see you anymore, because technology allows us to make a phone call, send a text. Like, I don't want to be around with you anymore because you treated me like crap. And so I left it off, and it felt like it was bad. And then later I find out that she ended up being a lesbian because I'm apparently attracted to lesbian women. And then nothing happened, and then all of a sudden I see her at the show that I'm doing. Yeah. I mean, we're both musicians and we both kind of fall into that world, so it wasn't unexpected. Like, okay, all right. Then the next, like a couple nights later, I see her again and again. And it's a little weird. It's always a little weird. And then eventually, the last time I saw it, I saw the show 3 times. I think she and the piano player might have been doing something. I don't know. But yeah. Anyhow, the third time was like, you know what? It's not weird anymore. It's not weird. Whatever. Screw it. I don't know how I got into the subject matter. Just wanted to talk about it. Now I talked about it. And I feel weird talking about it. Why is that? That's bizarre. I'm just blabbing to cover it up. Comment time. Just moved to LA. Good luck. Where'd you move to? That's a question. I jumped the late, so if you actually cover this, let me know. But what do you think? What do you do to get over creator's block? Good question. I don't know. Just do it. Like, just start writing. Just do it. Yeah, just literally just do it. That's all I gotta say on that. Sometimes you writer's block, and many times is an issue of not meeting your expectation. You're expecting great ideas. I have it too with my own editing. Sometimes it's like you expect something great, and you feel like you're not accomplishing that, and that becomes a block. So, Lake Avenue says, "Steal that from my screenplay." You better steal it. Hope to see a movie like, hey, I recognize that. Huh. I want to see that movie. You rate that movie, let's get it made somehow and show it to me, and I will be so cool with that. That'd be hilarious. This is San Diego doesn't have the smog problem that LA does. Yeah. So San Diego's right by the water and LA is more inland. Yeah, and San Diego has a little bit more. Well, San Diego, the city itself, doesn't go that far from the coast. Like, LA City actually is pretty far from the coast. Yeah, you weren't in LA during the 80s. That was a really bad time. Yeah, 90s too. Certain day on a couple in the 90s, it was pretty bad too. Just because you think you wrote is awful doesn't mean it actually is. You're your worst critic. Yep, totally agree. Where do you find actors for not too cheap? Good question. So, yeah, actors, basically, the less experience they have, the cheaper they are. So you can go on places like Actors Access. You used to have all these websites where you could like submit casting proposals for actors. Look, a lot of actors need real stuff. They need to get some action. They need to get some experience. So you're going to find a lot of people that want to act for free, or at least, if anything, the right thing to do in this day and age is to give them gas money. Gas money, food, and credit. Food is non-negotiable. You must feed your actors, period, end of sentence. I don't care if the actors are working for free, you feed them. Always feed your actors, period. I want to do a video on how to make food for actors. Yeah. Actors aren't animals. Have you ever eaten with one? Ba-dum-ching. So yeah, actors are... Actors Access, a lot of these websites that have acting, people post their resumes and stuff like that. Explore Talent was one in the old days. And that's what I'm trying to find, is actors that need reels. So another place you can try are acting classes. If you have any acting classes near you, I know that's probably more of a major city thing. I know San Diego had a pretty active little acting community, and LA has a booming acting community. But it's you're gonna find a lot of weird stuff going on there. If you watch the first season of Barry, that's really how it is in LA. It's not exaggerating at all. Oh God. Rigel7 says, this summer, Chris Pratt is John Hess in Pink Triangle. I know what that's referring to. Anyhow. But yeah, so you need to exercise your equipment. So another place you can go to are colleges. A couple of suggestions, ideas. Colleges that have like a theater department, that'd be a good place to start with. Just go up to their, just email the acting teacher. Say, hey, I'm a filmmaker. I'm looking for some actors to make something. Yeah, this is what I want to do. Why not? Get some actors that are in community college or university, whatever college is nearby. Let's start with that. And at least they'll all be over 18. And I don't mean that in a sexual way, but just know that when you're working with actors, if you're working with underage actors, you can't sign contracts. It's a whole lot more. If they're over 18, they can sign their own contract. It's just easier to work with. It's nothing to do with sexual. It just to get your minds. I got in trouble for calling actors a talent, as if talent was some sort of sexist term. But no. The reason why, you want them over 18 so that they can sign a contract, and there's not any weird shit going on. If you're doing, I'm not talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So that's the thing to do. Next place you can go, maybe community theater. Although community theater, realize that the more you go into theater, actors who are theater people are a little bit different than film actors, quite a bit different than film actors. They don't quite have the same chops. They don't have the same kind of discipline that a film actor does. Not saying they're different, they're worse, but theater actors are a lot looser, and they're a lot more, and they're also a lot bigger, because theater requires a lot more big to the audience, whereas film requires you to underplay it because the camera is right in your face. So yeah, those are some ideas. Acting classes, and look for acting schools too. Acting schools, theater, acting colleges, and then theaters. I'm drifting. I'm sorry, guys, I'm drifting. But I love hanging out with you. I haven't been here for a long time, and this is awesome. It's really fun. All right. Yep, and then credit on IMDb, and then if you don't know, you can easily, if you don't realize this now, I know Rick knows this, but you can get on IMDb by simply submitting your film to an IMDb accredited film festival. So you can literally buy an IMDb credit as long as you submit it to an IMDb. Yeah, during the pandemic, you couldn't actually get any of this accomplished. During the pandemic, I could not recommend anybody actually try to make a movie, because not at least the small productions there's no way you could comply with pandemic protocols, masks and bubbles, because there's a whole thing about being in a bubble. In these professional productions, you have to be in a bubble. It's even the theater I'm doing. It's the COVID protocols are sort of overbearing, considering where COVID's at right now. The CDC's literally taken down a lot of their requirements today. I just read them in New York Times, so I know it was a liberal newspaper that wrote it. That the CDC came out and said, we're still in a pandemic, people. We're still in a pandemic, but if you get exposed to someone with COVID, you don't need to quarantine anymore. So, good news, right? But we're still in a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic, guys. We're still in a pandemic because we need to have control. No, sorry, we didn't mean to say that. We're still in a pandemic, but if you're exposed to COVID, you don't need to quarantine unless you show symptoms. Okay. Anyhow. Okay, here's the thing too. If you guys think I'm one extreme or the other side, know that during the pandemic, I was part of the local government's information wing. I was part of their out there. I was a member of the media press, essentially working for the city, for a city, talking about COVID. So I was deeply watching and studying and hearing what the people were saying about it. It's not simple. What happened was not simple. However, we got to start moving on. Anyhow, we are moving on. It's true, we are. I haven't had to wear a mask in a restaurant for a long time now. Ever watch videos at 2 times speed before? Yes, I do. When I watch I'm watching a lot of recent, I've been watching some instructional videos lately, and I've had to watch them at 2 times speed because they are, it's like, get to the point. Benjamin Dover says, I was on set during pandemic and it was ludicrous. Yeah. So if you were an independent film, it's like, don't even try. Like if you were a small film or if you were just doing the film for fun and experience, don't try. Like during the pandemic, just don't try it because it's just you're in too much. There's too much going against you that it's just not worth it. Just wait a little while, develop your plot, your idea for a little bit, and then come back when things open up. And now things are a little bit open up, we can at least get back to some of the stuff. What if series writers got hired from politicians? Would that be a good reality show? It would be a good movie, maybe. You ever see the movie Bulworth? I mean, that's kind of a clever topic, dude. That might be a good log line. Like a politician is in dire straits, so he hires the writer from this hit TV show. Maybe. That might be kind of fun. Oh, you Comic-Con folks. So, when I was doing my show in Vista, they started cracking down on us. Now we have to do a rapid test every 3 days. So I got to stick a little thing up my nose every 3 days and put a droplet. I'm going to do it tomorrow morning because they said San Diego County is entering the red zone because we have all these COVID cases. It was Comic-Con, wasn't it? It was Comic-Con because we had a little up and then now we're back down to like very low levels. That's what it was. But the thing that, I mean, when the COVID was happening, I was always watching these boards, and I was very, very meticulous about looking at like the trends of like cases and deaths, right? And the good news, at least, we had a little blip in San Diego County. It wasn't nearly as bad a blip as it was like from January of 2021. So it's not. It was a little blip, but the deaths were like 2, like a couple hundred cases. But like 2 deaths. And then, because of the matters, you don't necessarily know, well, were those like 85-year-olds who are already like, on the death's door. So you don't know what those 2 deaths were. So good thing is the deaths are way down. But no one will tell you any of that stuff. Don't say that. Don't say that. No one will talk about deaths anymore. No. We don't talk about deaths anymore. Anyhow, nerds don't get COVID. They don't get anything else either, if you catch my drift. All right, never mind. I have not gotten COVID yet. I have not gotten it. And I have this in my head that I probably won't get it. Because, for some reason, I just don't think I will. I hate saying that because I think I'm jinxing myself and thinking like, well, I'm going to get it. But I haven't gotten it. I am vaxxed and I am boosted. 1 booster. I'm not going to get any more boosters because honestly at this point, like they haven't shown to me that they're serious about actually making them better because apparently the boosters are still based on some alpha variant. Oh wait, I just got fact checked. Never mind. I don't know. But it just seems to me that they're not updating the boosters as that's what I'm seeing. I'm hearing that they're still based on some early variants. Like we're already like Omicron BH something or another. We're all the way down here, and we're still giving ourselves alpha variant stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm not a virologist. Don't get me started. Blah 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 blah. But I got vaccinated, boosted, so I've got enough. I feel like I'm going to not get COVID just because just like a girlfriend, I ain't going to get COVID. Hi from Brazil. Or buenos, and I don't speak Portuguese. I'll say in Spanish. Buenas noches. Sure, whatever. Yeah, probably get it long term. Expected to mutate in somewhat that's less deadly on average. Yeah, like influenza did, basically. Yeah. So I'll probably eventually get it, but the reason why I don't want to get it, especially during the show, is because if I get COVID during the show, I'm out of the show for 5 days. So I don't want to do that. And there's no sub for me, so they're effed if I get COVID. And I don't want to leave them hanging like that, so I don't want to get COVID. COVID could shut the show down, and that sucks. And it's not because it's because of the union. It's because of the actors' unions that enforce that. Craig got COVID. Craig got the coof. Don't talk. Can you talk a bit about streaming services? Do you think the number of services will increase, 1 or 2 eventually be dominant for services in the market? I feel like they're starting to conglomerate. Same thing that happens with studios. You have 1,000 studios, and then the big studios start gobbling up the other smaller studios. You're seeing with like the Discovery Plus and HBO Max, Time Warner merging, so they're all going to be Discovery Plus, HBO Max, blah, blah, blah. And I think all these small ones are going to be small. I think there's going to be some mergers. But I think you're going to end up with like oligarchies. Basically, I think you're going to have. I feel like Apple's going to be its own thing. I feel like Apple, Amazon, Disney, Time Warner, and Hulu. Hulu's different because Hulu's more of a television service. So I feel like those are going to be your like dominant players. I feel like it's going to start gobbling up everything else up. I just don't. It's like the big five studios back in the day. I think there's gonna they can't eat all of each other. And I think at some point you might also be get into like antitrust issues if it's too big. So 5 or 6 in a way. And then you're gonna see things like maybe a show will be on like several different platforms at the same time. Thanks for hanging out. Count for a comment. It's okay. We can always talk politics as long as we're civil and we don't feel like we're just hating on people. Except for actors who just nonstop talk about themselves on Zoom. Yeah, political actions are important. I feel that too many useless whines made people forget that. Yeah, exactly. What's interesting is about the pandemic, it started in spring of 2020. At the same time, spring allergies started through people since people don't know whether they had COVID or not. Yeah. And it's a bizarre thing, and we're in 2022 and we have a disease called COVID-19. So here we're 3 years out from this official start of COVID. Although realize that COVID-19 didn't start till COVID 2020, But at some point you gotta move on, and there are so many people in this world that don't want to move on, that have this. All right, I want to present to you this one idea, and maybe we'll end on this. We'll kind of wind it down with this. I saw this riddle that I thought was very revealing of how people thought. Say a man comes into a store. And while the cashier's looking away, he reaches in the cashier drawer and steals a $100 bill and pockets it. Then he goes into the store and he buys this piece of china. That's like this cup for $70. It's a $70 cup. He comes back to the shop owner. Says, "I would like to buy this piece of cup, this piece of china, $70. He pulls out the $100 bill that he got from the register. He pays with it. And they give him change for $30, and he walks out. How much money did the store lose? And the answer kind of reveals how you think about the world. All right? Let's say at the chance to answer. How much money did this guy lose? He stole a $100 bill from the cash register, and he goes and buys something for $70. He gives him the $100 bill back, and he gets $30 for his purchase, and he walks out the store. How much money did the store lose? Let's see if anybody answers that in the questions, in the comments. Give you a second. Make your decisions. Do. Hopefully I'm not that long a delay, because I gotta move this story along. Let's see on the comments. Anybody? Did I lose you guys? Let's see. Let's check over here. I'm still here. $200 says direct video. Less than $100 says Rick. All right, we got 2 answers. I'll give you the correct answer in a second. See if anybody else wants to chime in on that. Put your bets. Rip Brewer says $100. Sean Andrews says $100. $30 change plus the cost of the product. All right, the answer is, if you said $200, you're wrong. If you said the cost of the china plus $30, you're wrong. Sorry, H. The answer is $100. How can you say that if you don't know the value of the item? It doesn't matter the value of the item. The answer is $100. Because the purchase of the item for $70 is irrelevant. It's an irrelevant statement. Because that's a normal transaction. If I gave you $100 for a $70 object, I literally that's normal business. That doesn't change. That doesn't. I don't care where you got the $100 from. But you stole $100 out of the cash register. That right there, that's the theft. That's where you lose the money. Exactly. Neo Productions is exactly right. Stole the $100 and that's it. But what if I can replace the china for $20? It doesn't matter. Because if somebody else came in the store and bought it for $70 and you replace it for $20, that's the normal transaction. There's a lost future sale though. He no longer has the cup. Well, and he sold the cup. That's a normal transaction though. Doesn't matter where he got the $100 from. He could have gotten $100. He could have had $100 in his pocket, stole $100 from the cashier register, taken the other $100, paid for the cup. You see what I'm saying? You made a connection between one action and another action because they're related in time and space, even though they're completely unrelated. Hello, how hot is it? It's really freaking hot. Bonus note, I'm late here. The title kicked me in the nuts. I'm a DOP and the film production of the world is upside down. Yeah. Anyhow, so I think, and I don't know what to call this, but it's like this, not being able to understand like this. There's two separate events here. The guy stole $100 from the cashier register, and then this other thing where he paid for this item with $100. Doesn't matter where he got the $100 from. Because that's a normal transaction. That's a regular transaction. That's expected to happen. But it's that stolen that money. That's the first thing. That connection, I think, is kind of what plays into how you look at certain things in the world and the history and the way the world works. And I don't know what that's called. It's some sort of fallacy, I'm sure, but I don't know what kind of fallacy it is. Let's see. Oh yeah, I do. I think you're right. Let's see. I'm not sure. Well, I guess maybe that point is boring for people. We can move on to another topic. Do people pirate stuff on the U.S.? I always get the impression that piracy was serious crime over there where I live. Piracy is a norm, so taking a film market becoming impossible. People pirate stuff here all the time. It's true. Sunrise in 1 hour? Oh boy, you better get to bed. But that china might not have sold for years, but there is the time value of money. But it's already calculated in the whole situation. You know, again, he still got paid for it. Like it doesn't matter where he got the $100 to pay for that china, so he still got paid for it, right? Now he might be if he gave. So let's extend it further, right? So let's say he comes back and says, "You know what? I'm sorry. Here's your china back. Give me a refund." No. He comes back and says, I don't like this china. I'm giving it back to you. And he gets a refund for $70. So how much is the shop out of money now? $100. Right? So if he can give it back. So that's the whole transaction, the actual purchase of the china is irrelevant. It's the $100. That's all that matters. All right, I think you guys are bored with that. I mean, I'm fine. Yep, he's still out $100. That's all he's out on the whole situation. He's out $100. That's the $100 is what they're out. The sale of that purchase of that product is not related. Is nothing to do with the stealing of the money. That's what they're stealing. That's where the money gets subtracted from the cashier. Anyhow. USA is the chief of pirates worldwide. He was at one point. Watch my copyright video. You'll like that one. Where can you watch all my film productions? It used to be on Vimeo, and then Vimeo decided to take off all my movies because I stopped paying them. If he returns to China, then he loses the profit he never lost. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like to be able to separate like this completely separate series of events to what the original loss of the money. I know I'm going way back on this thing. Anyhow. Standardized testing twist tells me there must be a twist. There's always a twist. Video on 60i and 60p helped teach me so much about TV, where the Philips widescreen to HD TV from 2008. Yeah, people don't realize about 60i. It's bizarre. In my personal opinion, would you rate the current state of the filming industry here out west? Where's in California? I moved from Texas 4 years ago to Austin. I think it was more of an active location, but I don't know. I'm not making a lot of narrative stuff right now. I've been making a lot of corporate stuff. So corporate stuff is pretty good because the pandemic really boosted all our corporate work. A lot of people started realizing how important video is. History enthusiasts, thank you for the compliment and the well wishes on the semester. We'll definitely be going, hopefully be pushing forward. Anyhow, there will always be pirates, but not everybody can pirate because they can. Some do it because they can't afford 30 different streaming services. Makes that a problem even worse. Yeah. So the theory is, though, media needs to be priced in a point where it's cheaper to pay the price than it is to pirate it. I'm making enough money where I do appreciate and pay for the services. I understand some people can't afford to pay for like Apple Plus. I mean, it's another $12 a month or whatever it is. It's like it's not that much to me, but it's, you know, if you're on a tight budget, you need to watch it. I'm not saying I'm super rich. Don't get that impression. I'm still like teetering on the edge. But I can afford some things, and I value that thing enough that I pay for it. So. Oh, you're Tim? What are you doing over here, history enthusiast? That's how you hide from your students. Watching me in here spiraling down the drain. I'm tired. Tara, so good. There's a cost versus value question. Let's see. Nobody pirates music anymore because it's all on YouTube for free. You can play Spotify. That's kind of true. All right, you know it's weird too. Like I was listening to Ragtime because I was doing Ragtime, and I was listening to it on YouTube, and I thought it didn't sound as good. I don't know if it was my ears. Maybe because I'm older, my ears don't work as well. But I just felt like I didn't feel the warmth. I wonder if the CD I was listening to as a kid and maybe the YouTube compression, like it didn't have the warmth that I used to have. John Sayre, I'm fading hosts. 7 a.m. call times 30-minute drive. You better get going, Rigel. Everyone say hi to Tim. Hiding from his students. So they don't know he's a history enthusiast. You can wind back and hear me rant about the celebrities. I was going to town on celebrities. All right, it is 7:30 though, despite the fact that Tim just got here. And Pedro just got here. Oh my God, Pedro just got here. You guys are getting here where I'm ready to go home because I'm stinking hot. Stinking hot in here, man. You can probably see me. You can see the sweat stains on my shirt. That's why I wear black, so you don't see the sweat stains. My Philips TV is 720p, 30 hertz. It can do 1080i. So when I came across your 60i being 60p video with an article online, I was like, this explains so much. Yeah. So Cassidy, here's a fun thing to do. Take 1280, times it by 70, then times it by 60. Let's do that together. Let's just do this. This is fun. We're gonna do stupid calculator tricks. I'm going for a marathon today, aren't I? I'm going for a marathon of streaming here. Here's my desktop. Let's see if we can do this right. 1280 times 720 times 60. It says 55,396,000. All right, let's go with that. Let's put that. See, I've never done this, so I might be completely screwing this up here. All right. Now, let's go 1920 times 540, because that's half of 1080, all right, times 60. 62 million. So you can see it's actually not that far off. Although the math didn't quite work out as well as I thought it would. I must be really tired. So, but essentially though, they're pretty close in how much data they are per, like 59 million and 63 million. That's how many pixels are coming at you per second. Or, no, yeah, per second. 62 million, so they're pretty darn close as far as megapixel count. Anyhow, that's that. I'm tired. I'm so tired. And there's no AC. You can see, look at me. Look how shiny I am. Oh my God. Super shiny. Super shiny. This is the sweatiest stream on YouTube. Good night, Rigel. Have a safe trip tomorrow. History Channel. History's Channel. History's. I was ranting about this show on. It was on Amazon, but it was produced by CNN. It was about Paul Newman, and the celebrities they got to interview just basically talked about themselves for about 5 minutes, and they were all on Zoom. And I was like yelling at, like, basically, why are you? This documentary is supposed to be about Paul Newman, and you're talking about how you're all stuck in your glamorous Hollywood Hills houses, your Los Feliz pads. And like, oh my God, we're all in the pandemic. We're all in this together. But it's like, no, talk about the topic. Stop talking about yourselves. Good morning from India. Yep, we're about ready to go to bed. Have a safe night. See you next stream. My head is so shiny. I know. Sweaty. Sweaty, sweaty, sweaty. All right, guys. It is 7:30. I need to go home and make my mom something to eat. Although we had quite a bit. I gave her quite a big lunch at the Vietnamese pho. There's one place I used to go to, but honestly, I'll be honest, not that good anymore. Their pho wasn't as flavorful. It's very salty, very beefy. The pho is supposed to be very light, but it was very beefy. Bizarre. My TV has a contrast ratio, dynamic contrast, so it can give me more detail. Well, it can only give you as much detail as you have in the signal. Shiny, happy people. All right, I'm really tired now. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming by the Filmmaker IQ. I will try to put out more videos. I was working on that normal video, but I was watching it and I was like, this is too much. This is not entertaining enough. So I'm going to redo it. When it gets a little cooler, I'm going to take out some of the math because the math is it's just show-offy. You don't really need it. So less math, more kind of conceptual stuff. And then I'm going to start teaching next week. So there's that. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you later. Filmmaker IQ out.